You know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
Very thankful, 12th man. They've won us games.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
Our skill set worked great together. Like, he was more speed and I was more power, and then we put together, it was like thunder and lightning, you know.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Welcome into TexAgs. That was a very professional announcement for half second. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio here in Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm hearing a lot of background noise, Nick, for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe there's a mic open somewhere. David Nuño, and there we go, Olin Buchanan here. And the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations, Dallas, day 4 of SEC Media Days, the Elko Day, the Shamar Turner Day.
Shamar Turner,
the Trey Zune Day, and the Torian York Day.
Torian York, the thunder of the Thunder and Lightning.
The mouth of the South, and I mean that with all due respect. He's a great speaker. That guy has some great quotes, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really is. Everything about him.
Yeah,
good player.
He's
good
great.
Guy, good speaker.
He's great.
Let's
you, my friend, you look great. Look at you.
Well, you know, it's A&M Day. You know,
I mean, you got the jacket on. Yeah. You got the glasses ready. The nice white shirt.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're going to go party tonight somewhere. Where did you used to party in Dallas back in the day?
It was a place on Lower Greenville called Studebaker's.
Yeah. Old school.
Yeah.
Well, look, we got a lot to get into this morning. Obviously, you're going to get to talk to Coach Elko at around 9-ish. 9-ish. So he'll be here, but he doesn't hit the podium until 11:05, and then the players will be right after that.
It'll be me and a scrum.
For some reason, your mic is off there. Let's see if Nick can try again.
Me?
There you go.
It'll be, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Me and a scrum, or should we, a scrum and I?
Scrum and I.
Scrum and I will be visiting with of local reporters, which that makes me like Elko that much more because.
Explain this phenomenon.
Well, in the past, they've always said, hey, we're going to have before the coach goes out on the podium, we're going to have a moment for him to meet with the local reporters. And then you would find a dozen of the national guys, and they come in and try to dominate the conversation. Not that they're trying to be rude about it. They're just doing their job. But I do think that
we local guys,
that you should give some more extra consideration to the guys that are covering your team day after day after day after day.
Because often, and by the way, this happened yesterday. I'm not going to tell the who story, but I know, and you know of somebody, I think you know this part, of a friend of ours that was supposed to meet with one of the big wannabe schools, right? Maybe they're a new addition, maybe they're not. And the school was very happy to see the national media. And then when the local guys showed up, they're like, eh.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Look, we are on the beat every day. We get to know Coach Elko. And look, I know it's special when they talk to the national guys, but the way media works now, we're all national.
Yeah, we had one coach before, not too long ago, that was very uncooperative with the
locals,
local media, but fell over sideways for the national media. And I guess it was smart because at least one of the guys was almost like his agent. You know, one of the national guys was almost like his agent because they always, no matter what was going poorly in the program, he was getting the national press to prop him up. But eventually it got so bad that they couldn't even do it.
So I'm going to complain about something, and I don't want this to be a overarching theme on the show. Okay. But as I was at the gym yesterday and they have a TV on, I don't really watch SportsCenter anymore.
Okay.
And I wish I did because
I don't either.
It was part of my youth. It was a morning routine. It was a nightly routine. It was an after school routine at 6 o'clock, whatever, like a few hours after school. that was my life. And then when ESPN News came out, I was like, this is the greatest gift ever. I could just watch highlights all day of the same thing I just watched 9 minutes ago. But I loved it. We've evolved as a society. Social media has allowed it that highlights aren't as important on the nightly news. So that's a long way to get into. I don't really watch SportsCenter that much. But I'm on the treadmill, as Cole Kublik would like to make fun of me about, and on the TV. And then when I lifted weights, this was throughout an hour of me being there, 75% of the coverage, unscientific poll, was of a certain school yesterday that spoke. And I'm not going to even say who the school is. I'm just going to say that Alabama was not that school.
Yeah, I know it. It's
Alabama, who did make the playoffs last year. Alabama, who does have a new quarterback. I mean, a new head coach. Alabama, who's earned
a new head coach replacing the greatest coach in the history of the game.
And a head coach who beat said team 2 years in a row.
You're right.
I know I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm good. This is what I do for a living. Yeah. So let me explain to me why, and then there's going to be a faction of people who are listening that don't like us. Well, that's because we are who we are. No, you're not. You're good. Chill out with that. This is not about I've had so many media people tell me the certain school arrogance of the media is ridiculous. Like they feel like they've won games.
Yeah. Yeah. Even Nick Saban even commented about how they're acting like Texas is going to come in and dominate the SEC. And he was saying that's it. They're going to be good, but it's not the way they're acting. I've always thought that ESPN had a business deal with Texas, going all the way back to the Longhorn Network, and somehow it benefited them somehow financially for Texas to be good, and so they've always propped them up and did everything they could to what's the word I'm looking for? To publicize, not really the word I'm looking for, but to, just bring them out to the public or whatever, or prop them up.
Shine some light.
Shines. I know the word I'm looking for. I just can't find it this early in the morning.
Anyway, it bugs me, but you know what doesn't bug me is the optimism that I've heard around the world. Now, it's interesting. People are like, man, I'm really big on A&M. I think they could go 8-4, 9-3.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem very.
Yeah.
That's the bare minimum that I think A&M should be as an 8-4 team. Not the 7-5. That a bad year should. I'm sorry, with the resources, with the amount of the talent that they acquire, the coaches that they hire, 8-4 should be the bad year.
Yeah, well, that's right. It should be. But the fact of the matter is the Aggies won 12 games in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now they were close in a lot of those games. So I guess people are looking at it and say, hey, those games that they lost, that they were close in, a new coach with a new philosophy and more organization and more discipline, if he can bring that in, a couple of those close games that they lost become wins. So I think they can win 8 or 9. But if you do that, if you do iron out those problems and like get to where you can execute a field goal without getting it blocked, get to where you can pick up 3rd and 1 consistently.
See, the thing,
don't leave freshman cornerbacks out on an island and without rushing. If you do that, then maybe 10-2 is not out of the realm of possibility.
I'm sorry that I cut you off like 8 times there, but
okay.
I think the thing that bugs me, OB,
tell me,
and maybe me,
okay,
that sometimes people think I think we are closer than they think, right? And they're like, well, you guys were 12-12 a lot. Yes, but maybe I'm too close to the situation. But I can look at those losses, and I can tell you, well, the reason they lost was this play, or this play call, or this disastrous decision, or this start of this game that went south 17-0 in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was atrocious.
And that is the definition of a bad team, because I've said this many times. Not all bad teams lose by 30.
They find ways to lose. That's what a bad team does.
Yeah.
They find ways to lose. And that's what A&M did over too frequently over the last 2 seasons. Now, can Mike Elko, who did some amazing things at Duke, when you consider the caliber of athlete that they're going to have compared to a lot of their competition, and he beat those teams in some cases. Can he be the guy that's going to instill that discipline, instill that that organization, and turn some of those close losses into close wins? And if he can, A&M, we've talked about this before. There's a surprise team every year, and it really could be A&M. The deal is what you're saying is, yes, A&M with a better offensive line play and better organization, all those could be the surprise team. And what you're getting at is, but it won't be that big a surprise if you've really been paying attention.
1,000%. And here's another thing that I'm a little bit more leaning to the opposite than to their direction, but I'm not all in, because the fact that 2020 doesn't really count as a good season. Oh, it was 2020. Did the national championship count?
Yeah, that is the biggest crop.
Who won in 2020?
Alabama.
Alabama.
And nobody has said that they didn't deserve it. And what I even someone said, I can't remember who I was talking to, and they said, 2020 really didn't count. If you look at their schedule, I said, it was Andy, who I really respect. I said, the schedule wouldn't have been as difficult in 2020 because you wouldn't have played Florida. You would have played Alabama later instead of earlier. You wouldn't, you lost a home game against Colorado and 3 mail-in victories. Now, they should have been mail-ins. Of course, Appalachian State always.
But A&M does open the door for it to be, that's the only year under the Jimbo regime that you guys were elite. And so I understand the question, but the pushback should be also understood. The pushback is it was an all SEC schedule. Sure, the stadiums weren't as packed as we would like, but the same with Kyle Field, which, by the way, according to EA Sports, is the hardest place to play in college football. So Dan Mullen can complain about the 8 extra fans that we had in attendance, but the bottom line is that season counts. But I do understand the asterisk. I understand.
I don't.
I understand the question. Better way of phrasing it.
But I would if they questioned everybody else.
Correct. But can I ask you a question?
That Alabama team that national championship shouldn't count.
And this is why I think it's different than the NBA. Okay. Because the Lakers, and that was like everybody was in Las Vegas and they were all in one arena and like that.
Was it Vegas?
Wherever it was.
I thought it was Florida.
Maybe it was
Orlando.
Maybe it was Orlando. Yeah. Wherever it was.
Wherever.
That one seemed a little weird to me.
Not every team participated, right?
No, I think they all participated. I don't know.
Sure?
I don't remember.
Okay. I don't either. It's the NBA. What do I get?
But I kind of, I'm picking and choosing, but
saying.
I kind of understand it there, but it counts. Sorry, LeBron got that championship. I wish he didn't, but he did. He got it.
Well, again, I'm keeping it to college football, and I've never heard anyone say that that Alabama's team was not a deserved national champion.
Yeah.
So, and quite frankly, again, A&M, I remember that year, people were saying, well, the SEC isn't as strong as it usually is. But look at the records. They're only playing each other. If everybody plays each other, you're going to have a balance. And then they got into the bowl games, and the SEC dominated. And so then what's the excuse? Anyway, but people are going to say what they're going to say. And quite frankly, we're not going to get where we want to go looking in the rearview mirror. I'm looking ahead for this season, and I'm counting on the Elko effect.
Yep.
To turn everybody into alcoholics.
So some alcoholics. Short idea. So there's a lot of questions about why Connor Wigman is not here. And I'm going to give you my answer. And you tell me yours, all right?
All right.
My answer is, dude started 8 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to talk to him. Luckily, we're TexAgs. Billy gets to talk to him all the time. But he hasn't started a full season. He's coming back from injury. So you don't need to have him out here, right? I don't want to say he hasn't earned the right, but your team captains have earned the right.
Yeah, I can see that. You typically want to see the quarterback there. I remember one time in the Big 12, Dennis Franchione brought 2 quarterbacks, Reggie McNeil and Dustin Long. And the quarterback is the most important player. I get it. But you know what? At A&M, it's not the quarterback position is not a real position of concern. The offensive line is, so I'm glad Trey Zoom is here, right? The defensive line should be the area of strength, of absolute strength. So I'm glad Shamar's here.
Yep.
And well, we've already talked. Torian's a captain, so Yeah, I don't have an issue with. Plus, we've talked to Connor plenty of times, and we'll talk to him plenty more times, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm very looking forward to hearing Shamar Turner. By the way, I love Shamar Stewart talking too. Both those guys are great. Torian, and look, to me, it's just like we're at the door. We're knocking on the door of practice, right? What are we? 2 weeks out?
Yeah.
If that, is it even that? It's less than that.
Well, what's today? Today's the 18th.
Yeah, aren't they supposed to start around the 31st? Is that right?
That would be about 2 weeks.
Yeah. So anyway, hey, here's something for you.
Tell me.
24 and 24 starts next week. Okay. It is the thing that I think we all love and hate it all at the same time, because it's very hard to do, because everybody has their own rationale. So for the second straight year, we've asked for help. You've got your 24.
I do.
I've got my 24.
You do.
Billy begrudgingly's got his 24. Okay.
Yeah.
And our subscribers get to participate. And then we're going to take the average score and come up with a 24 ranking. All right. And if you are a subscriber, go to the premium board and you can click on the link that I'm talking about it until 4 o'clock today and cast your votes. I believe we start next Tuesday. Okay.
Okay.
So I believe next Tuesday we will start our 24 and 24 with number
24.
There you go.
All
and I
right.
think next year, if we do it again, which I think we will, we'll do 25 and 25, and then we may just keep it at 25.
Oh.
I don't want to keep growing it to 86. You know,
Yeah, I don't think
we'll be doing the
I don't
show
think
then.
I'd be around to participate in that one, but I'd hope so.
Oh, at 86 years old or
No.
2086?
I would only be about 125.
Well, you know,
let's shoot for that.
Yeah. Anyway, so if you want to be a part of that, please go to the premium boards. By the way, you can text us here, ask us your questions. What do you want to hear from Elko? What do you want to hear from the players? 979-693-1150. If by chance we were to take a phone call, we'd pick it up on the Boss Firearms hotline. Be like a boss. Go to Boss Firearms. Get your firearms on. So 979-693-1150. All right. So since today is A&M Day, during the 9 o'clock hour, Nick is going to be updating me, and I know the interns back in College Station are going to be updating us on some of the quotes coming out of Coach Elko, so we can talk about that. Nick Roush of KSR joining us at 8:45 to talk a little Kentucky. They're on the podium today. Mark Stoops, do you think he'll get some A&M questions?
Yes, I think that might come up, and I'm sure he's been planning for weeks how to dodge them.
And by the way, KSR, it wasn't Nick, but I think you know the guy, one of the main guys who does a national show for them. Can't remember his name right now, but he's on ESPN, does a national show. He's one of their main guys. He has Matt Jones. Yeah. He's got his version of the Stoops story. We've got our version. We're probably not going to meet in the middle.
Right. Yeah, because he knows what he was told from that end. We know what we were told from this end.
Right.
Because he doesn't know any more than what he's told. And quite frankly, we don't know any more than what we're told.
But I think what we were told was right.
I will.
I'm fairly confident about that. So we'll talk to Nick Roush. Sam Acho.
Yeah, I like him.
He's likable.
Not
Smile.
His brother's not, but he is.
Sometimes his brother does say some things that I like, and
Really?
sometimes he says sometimes.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
And then 97% of the time, I think I disagree with this guy a lot. So, but we'll talk to Sam. Connor O'Gara.
I like him.
I love Connor. That's my guy. 9:35. John Nabors.
Oh, he's a good old Arkansas-er. I like him. Has a good podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Your old sidekick, Braden Gall.
Braden's my boy.
Yeah. And Jacob Goins, who covers Auburn. He's Goins on the show. He's going to sit right there.
Okay.
I believe that's his table right there.
You know what? I don't know.
Nice guy.
I don't know that I've ever met anybody from Auburn that I didn't like.
And I hate to give Billy props but there's the fake Luke Evangelist that keeps walking by. There's a guy that looks exactly like Luke.
He's fake Luke.
Talking to your good friend.
I see him.
The guy who talks about A&M that would never say it in my face.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah, the guy's kind of mentally challenged.
Physically challenged too.
Oh, that too. He's just challenged.
The guy's my age and he's struggling to walk. That's all right. We'll get him some help. Anyway, we'll hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, let's talk a little bit about the best here at SEC Media Days at using the portal. Can we do that?
Okay.
All right. And there's a small list, but A&M is on that list. I bet you do.
As well they should be.
As they should. So we'll hit a break. We'll talk about that
now.
Right now, though, sponsorship and vendor opportunities. If you are looking for a way to engage with Aggies in a cool way, reach out to the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during all these awesome events. You got the Aggie Ring Day. You got all Aggie Hullabaloo. You got the Gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests there. And there are also many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of attendees. All events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand that include title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition, and social media posts, and much, much more. Also, there are advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on our options available, please visit the association or email them at sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Again, that is sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. It is the Association of Former Students. What's the name of the show?
Go Hour on TexAgs Radio. Go Hour.
Presented by who?
David Gardner's Jewelers.
Okay, no, the Go Hour is presented by the Warehouse
Creations.
That's correct. The entire presentation is sponsored by
David Gardner's Jewelers.
And this table right here, this particular
the traveling
Rollo
Insurance
Studio. Yeah. And this is, I think we did them all, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we do.
Wait, no. We got another sponsor.
Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
Well, no, there's somebody with a gun.
Boss Firearms, like a boss.
Somebody with a gun. Yeah.
Yeah. That's on the hotline. All right, let's talk a little transfer portal. Is A&M mentioned as one of the better teams at using the portal?
I don't. I haven't seen any list, but if
no, I'm just saying in general. Do you feel like they're
they are now with Elko?
But do you think that's talked about?
I've seen it mentioned before.
Good,
I think I saw them like 24/7 had their ranked like 2 or 3.
They got them at number 4.
4 now.
I just feel like you hear a lot about Oregon. You hear a lot about Ole Miss. And then you don't hear a lot about other guys. So number of commits, A&M is dominating. They got more than, I don't know about anybody, but got more than the top 5. They got 28. All right. They're number 4 on the list. I'll read you the 5. Ole Miss, number 1.
Yeah.
24 commits, 1 5-star, which is our old player.
Yeah.
7 4-stars, 16 3-stars. Oregon, 1 5-star, 6 4-stars, 6 3-stars.
We know who that 5-star is.
Yep. Yeah, we do. That's back-to-back 5-stars that we are familiar with. And by the way, I think these stars thing are stupid, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Alabama, 15 commits, 1 5-star, 7 4-stars, 6 3-stars. Number 4, Texas A&M, 0 5-stars. That's fake. You know why that's fake?
Because Nick Scorton
is a 5-star.
Played like these are based on what they did in high school.
Yeah, they're different men now.
Nick Scorton was a 220-pound project coming out of Bryant High, and he was a 3-star.
Why can't they reevaluate? Why you got to keep somebody in the 5?
Because that would take a little more work.
Yep.
Yeah.
But where A&M has done excellent is in the 4-star category. They have 8. And that's the highest of the top 5. And 17 3-stars.
This will sound like sour grapes. I get it. And so if someone wants to, put that on me, okay, fine. But based on what they've done in college, I would rank higher, and I would rather have Nick Scorton than Walter Nolan.
Yep.
Now,
and
they play different. Well, I need receivers, but I've said this before. Walker was actually more productive than and much tougher than Evan Stewart. Now, is he as talented?
No, he's not. Evan's going to do great, I think, in Oregon. He's going to. They didn't use him well here. But I agree with you on the.
Did they not, or was he just not? Look, I'm not going to trash Evan. I can just say that he didn't play like a 5-star.
Agreed.
He did in one game against Alabama, and then some other games he had some nice moments, and then some other games he had some terrible.
How much of that? And I think it's both.
Scorton played like a 5-star,
no doubt. But how much of the Evan Stewart issues were Evan Stewart? And I think some of them were. Some of it was not knowing how to use him.
Throwing the ball. What do you mean? I can remember him when A&M's trying to come back against Mississippi State 2 years ago, and he is wide open. I mean, no one within 5 or 6 yards from him in the end zone, and he drops the easiest touchdown pass he'd ever have. I remember him when they're driving for what could have been a touchdown against Appalachian State. He catches the ball and fumbles in Appalachian State's end of the field. I remember, of course, against Miami, and when he doesn't get a first down because he doesn't want to take a hit. And quite frankly, he would have scored if he just turned up instead of, dancing. So I can come up with as many negative plays that Evan Stewart did as positive plays. That said, would I rather him be on the team this year?
Absolutely.
Of course I would.
And you'd rather have Walter Nolan too, right?
I would rather have him. But now, if you told me you got to have Nick Scorton or Walter Nolan, I'm taking Scorton.
Yeah, I am too. By the way, Texas is number 6 on this list. Florida was 15. Texas is number. I was surprised. I thought they got more 5-stars. They got 1 according to 247.
I wonder who it is. They got a DB from Clemson, and they got the receiver from Alabama.
They got 5 4-stars there. So I was just it just caught me. I thought they're in the top 6, and their overall average is a 90.73. A&M's was 88.72, and Ole Miss 88.63, which is below Texas A&M.
You know, I talk about Walter Nolan, and he was a 5-star, and there were times he played like it, but it was in flashes because he seemed to lack some motivation.
Yeah,
it seemed to me. And then the same with Evan Stewart. There were times when but it wasn't consistent. I'm not sure that first of all, other than those two, who did A&M lose that you in the portal that you really
had
feel
to
like,
have.
oh my gosh, what a loss.
Some people, but again, people who don't follow it as closely as we do
are going to say Bryce Foster. Right. And, a guy
and by the way, I liked Bryce.
He's a nice kid.
Nice human.
Nice kid. Great family.
Yep.
But did he play at a level that you say, gosh, this is a difference maker?
Do you think we overrate his freshman year, or do you think he was really good his freshman year?
No, I thought he was good as a freshman. Yeah.
By the way, one thing that like these
I just don't think he loved football.
That's possible. One thing that I don't think we discussed enough of is like we did with Nick Scorton, not being a 5-star, but he really is playing like a 5-star. Torian York came in last year as a 3-star.
Yeah.
And he was a guy that we all fell in love with before he even started practicing because he was so good in the interview. And then Billy was telling us during spring ball, this guy's probably going to start. This guy's probably going to start. And now he's the team captain.
I've said it before. If we name the top 20 players at A&M since A&M came into the SEC, I bet you more than half would have came in as 3-star guys. You know, guys like Eric McCoy and Mike Evans and Johnny Manziel, and maybe even Torian York's on there, and Nia Smith, probably. And that's just off the top of my head right now.
Torian is on his way. Like, if this ascent continues, like to be on that pantheon of linebackers we talk about at A&M for all time.
Yeah, he's a steal.
Yeah. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with more. Right now, ground shuttle time. They offer frequent and reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to George Bush Intercontinental Airport. So if you're trying to get out of town, you got kids that are moving back to school here in a month, right? And you're listening to the show like, they're flying in from wherever. Have them fly to Bush and take a ground shuttle. You don't have to worry about getting rides. You don't have to they take care of you in style. And when they're coming home for vacay or for a weekend, use ground shuttle. You don't have to drive to Bush and that horrendous parking that they have there at George Bush Intercontinental Airport. They have 9 shuttle times on weekdays every hour and a half and 5 shuttle times on the weekends every 2.5 hours. It's also excellent for business commuters. Those of you who travel from Houston to Dallas all the time and you don't want to do the drive, you want to fly, let ground shuttle take you to Bush and they'll fly you. It's easy peasy, right? No doubt about it. They can book any vehicle to help you out with their charter service, hassle-free way to get your group to sporting events, concerts, corporate meetings. It's a local company, and they don't book anything that they cannot guarantee. The website, groundshuttle.com. That is groundshuttle.com, or call them up at 855-303-4415. It is Ground Shuttle. Let them do the driving. Hola, ¿qué tal? Estamos aquí in the SEC Media Days, day 4. This is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour coming almost closed here, presented by the warehouse at CC Creations. Text messages we'll get to here momentarily. Poor Cade, who wanted to chime in on our conversation about the transfer portal. I just did not see his message. So, young Cade, I didn't check in with you today. Are you doing okay?
Unmute me. Yes, I'm doing good. And I wanted to say, I think that the reason
Why do you always sound like when I come to you that you're like in a bunker during like a war, like, David, yes, everything's okay.
Oh, sorry. I was just, I don't know why. I just am getting everything ready. That's why. But
he gave me a real answer. He didn't joke back. Cade is like, I'm going to stick to the team. I'm going to just do what's right.
Cade is under heavy fire at all times, pinned down.
Anyway, young Cade, sorry, we can't joke back and forth. Continue on, please.
Well, so I think the reason Elko hasn't maybe gotten as much press about how he's handled the transfer portal is because he doesn't, well, you know, those big names like Walter Nolan and Evan Stewart, they're going to, you know, Oregon and Ole Miss. And I know Elko got some big names like Des Ricks was a big name, and Nick Scorton was also a big name. But
Huge.
he's done a great job finding some diamonds in the rough, like from some of these group of 5 teams. And I think that that's what's huge in the transfer portal is finding those guys who can make an impact and weren't playing at bigger schools before.
I hate myself because my memory isn't as good as it used to be. And I think when you get kids, your mind gets cluttered. The Ole Miss wide receiver, Trey Harris, right?
Trey Harris, yeah.
He was also from a small school.
Louisiana Tech.
And smallish school, not small, and he blew the freak up.
Yes, he did. Hopefully, what's the kid from CJ?
Cyrus Allen, Jabari Barber, who's not going to play this
Yeah.
year, looks like more than like. We'll see, maybe at the end, but we're not counting on him at the moment. We hope, but those are hard assumptions to make in July. Let's see how it develops. It's kind of like Ja'Day Walker.
Well, I think
not that he was a star, but I think he developed nicely.
He developed nicely. He's good. And you know, there's a kid from, and I can't think of his name right now, from Bowling Green, who's a pass rushing guy.
Cassius Howell.
That guy is going to be a player, dog.
You know, so
he's in my 24.
I saw one list had him as like one of the top 100 players in the country. I'm like, what? Really? Okay, great.
Rodis Johnson he's from Nebraska, but
he's from Wisconsin.
Is it Wisconsin? Oh, it's well. What do I know?
Hey,
it's Wisconsin.
But
the other
what I like
red Big Ten team
is that we've all done a little 24 and 24 exercise. So the names are coming out.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You went straight to Rodis Johnson. That was crap.
You know what? It's going to be really interesting for me when that comes out to see who comes out to be number 1, because I know who I vote for. I won't say, but
I bet I can guess.
I wonder who will. I wonder if you guys are going to agree with me, and the fans are going to agree with me.
So I don't want to give too much information out, right? Because we want to save it for 24 and 24. But for number 1, I think there's an argument between 3 or 4 players. Is that fair?
That's my point. Yeah.
I mean, there is the logical choice if things pan out a certain way.
Yeah.
And
it's not like 2 years ago when I put down Devon A-Chain, and I won't say who, somebody in the office said, I think it's Antonio Johnson. I said, look, guys, if we don't have a Devon A-Chain on, we should stop doing this. That was kind of a Bear Bryant thing. I said, Antonio's a nice player. I mean, he's good. But we're talking about a guy who's a different player.
And also, there's different ways to kind of go about it. Like, are we talking about NFL potential, number 1? Or are we talking about for this season, who is the most important, best player on the roster? And I think that's how I'm handling it.
I just say if I was, getting ready to play a game this year and I'm picking teams, who's the first guy I'd pick on my team? That's the way I look at it.
Yep. Well, OB, I know you got a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, Mike Elko is going to be visiting with the local reporters here shortly, so I need to jump over there and get ready for that.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. Right now, we're talking Rollo Insurance. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish your insurance goals. If you got kids who are about to start driving, I do, and they should be driving already, but we suck as parents. That being said, They can help you find the right insurance. If you're paying too much for premiums, let them take care of you. They've got offices all over the country, but 53 in the great state of Texas. They've got offices in South Texas, North Texas, East Texas, Central Texas, West Texas. Everything else outside of Texas, they'll take care of you as well. Homeowners, farmers, ranchers, hobby farmers, business owners. And this is their slogan, and OB will love it: God, family, and country. That is absolutely the truth when it comes to Rollo Insurance. They're the place to go. The difference is real. 888-44-ROLLO or go to rolloinsurance.com. Remember, their headquarters is on Highway 6 in College Station. It's Rollo Insurance. Are they trying to give us a hint about Sweet Little Lies? Are we lying about something on the air? Ryan Broadcasting, what's up, guys?
Maybe this is a reference to Mark Stoops in Texas A&M.
I didn't
Maybe.
think of that. I
Maybe.
didn't think about that. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance. Studio Nick Roush, KSR, friend of the show, joining us here. All right, so since you went there, I listened to our show and I listened to Matt's show, and those are two different stories.
Two different stories, and
somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah, and I think there definitely was a. It's kind of like with Cal jumping to Arkansas, right? Like I didn't think he would actually go through it, and there was a part of me where I didn't think Stoops would actually go through it, but I know that it wasn't all completely up to him, right? Like there was definitely an A&M like, well, Russ Bjork, you're getting a little ahead of your skis here. You know, you thought you had the deal done, but you didn't check with everybody first.
So, can we talk a little bit about, we were talking that week leading up to it.
Yes.
And Am I allowed to talk about some of this?
Sure. Yeah.
You reached out to me maybe a week before, or 5 days before, or something like that.
I think it was Thanksgiving.
It was Thanksgiving. You're right. And it happened Saturday. Okay.
Yes.
So, and I hadn't heard Stoops.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it to me,
mm-hmm.
and I might have, routed it up to our guy. He's like, yeah, he's one of the dudes.
Yeah.
And then I think a day later we went back and forth again. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not sure. And then Saturday.
Right. And it was one of those things too. I knew it had legs when I couldn't get anybody in Lexington to really, give me that extra little bit to like, let's be thankful to all this, right? Like, because that's how tight-lipped he kept it. And part of the reason why I thought that it was possible was just, kind of the way things were going in Lexington, right?
Yep.
Like, if you compare Texas A&M's coach now to Mark Stoops, there's a lot of similarities.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that Elko worked for Jimbo at A&M. Stoops worked for Jimbo at Florida State.
Right.
So, but all that aside, Stoops has been there. He's been doing this a little bit longer.
Yep.
And he's done it well at Kentucky. But towards the end, they lost a couple of games they shouldn't have. And that one at South Carolina, where they had no business losing that team. They had a bunch of turnovers, and you could tell that he was like, I think there was a moment there of like, is this can I redirect the ship, or is it time to jump off and go somewhere else? And so it was very close, David. I know it was tense in Lexington there after Kentucky beat Louisville to end the season.
So a little bit of why A&M wasn't interested. I think Mark Stoops is a dynamite head coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think A&M fans, and I might be wrong here, we're thinking either a Grand Slam hire, right? Kalen DeBoer sounded like a Grand Slam hire, right?
Right.
And or Coach Elko, because he was our guy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And also, I feel like the offensive issues that Kentucky's had, and I know Liam Cohen was awesome. I do recognize that, but
it's a thing. It's
a thing.
5 years we're starting here with a different coordinator.
We want our offense to work.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there were questions about Mark Stoops' offenses because of history there. And Jimbo, who was a offensive mind, the game passed him by, it felt like. So, with Elko, who's not an offensive mind, he brings in Colin Klein. You're like, oh, okay, I see where we're going here.
And the thing that fascinates me too, David, is that Stoops and Elko are 2 of 4 defensive guys in this league.
Yep.
And I understand why you go that route after doing the Jimbo thing, but it still is a little bit of a gamble. You're going against the grain of what the rest of the league's doing, which is we got to have these young, hot offensive guys, right? Like, that's the way to go about it.
But don't you think A&M's doing that with Colin Klein?
Yeah, but from a head coaching perspective, like it's one thing to have, Lane or Levy or one of those be the actual face. So I think it's slightly different in that regard. It does kind of amuse me though that like some of the other complaints that I would hear from the A&M side were just, Stoops he's boring, right? Like when he gets in front of he can be boring. I think you kind of want a little bit of boring after dealing with Jimbo, right?
Yeah. Look. I love Jimbo.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I mean, he was good to us. I had my frustrations and I voiced them many times after games, many times. But the game passed him by.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of the worry with Stoops is he too much in the old school ways?
Right.
Because you could say, well, what about Elko? He's a defense. Elko seems, based on his hires and what he is saying, to not be that way, to be open and to allow Colin, this is your offense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's exciting about it. If you can have an excellent offense that's ball control driven and a defense, and we know an Elko defense is going to be good, just like a Stoops defense is going to be good.
Right.
You got our chances. By the way, let's actually talk about Kentucky.
Yes, let's do it.
Because a lot of the national guys I'm talking to are like, don't sleep on Kentucky this year. Don't sleep on Kentucky. So are people sleeping on Kentucky?
Yes, and I think that's an active attempt by Mark Stoops to have people sleep on them, right?
Yeah.
Like he likes having a team that plays with a chip on their shoulder, to play with an edge. And they did a little bit too much talking in the offseason the last couple of years. People weren't sleeping on Kentucky with Devin Leary. They weren't sleeping on Kentucky with Will Levis. And then you miss an offensive coordinator hire. And then Devin Leary, just frankly, he was way too inefficient, way too boomer bust for a pro-style system. He could work in the ACC in the spread, but he couldn't. Worst completions percentage, most interceptions, but also the most touchdowns. So it was all or nothing with Kentucky then. Whereas I think now you've got a higher 4 team. The offensive line returns 4 out of 5 starters, and you bring in a guy from Tennessee who started 26 games. You've got your young receivers that had their sophomore slump. They're now paying were playing for paychecks, and then they got Jamori Macklin, a guy from North Texas.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
Started his career at Missouri, had 1,000 yards receiving last year, and most importantly, Stoops, to get his offense to work, I think he found what he wants. It's just having the right guy to do it. And that is pro style, where we're going to run the ball and be physical at the point of attack, but also have the passing elements to be successful. The last guys, Rich Gangarell and Liam Cohen, they were NFL guys who were having their cup of coffee in college football. Bush Hamden, he's a college football guy who had a cup of coffee in the NFL to figure things out. And now he's back here. He wants to use Brock Vandegrift in the quarterback run game. He wants to run the ball, and he's got some nice wide receivers to make some explosive plays.
All right, so let's play the game that I like to play. Okay. All right, from an insider's perspective, what is a good season? And I'm going to go through some of these games. You tell me win-loss right out of today.
All right.
Southern Miss.
Win.
South Carolina.
Win.
Georgia.
Loss.
Okay. Ohio.
Win.
Ole Miss.
Win.
At Ole Miss. Okay.
That's the game Kentucky's going to win that they shouldn't. They'll have 2 tests under their belt so far. That's Ole Miss's first one.
Yep.
Stoops has played Ole Miss 3 times, lost all of those games by combined 7 points.
Bro, you guys are going to the national championship so far. All right. Bye week. Win. Yep.
Win.
Vanderbilt.
Win, but closer than it should be.
At Florida.
Loss.
Okay.
Actually, no. We'll go win. So 2 road wins. We'll go 2 road wins.
6 wins right now.
Yeah, and then it's
Auburn.
Loss.
Tennessee at Tennessee.
Loss.
Okay. Murray State.
Okay, there's the win.
At Texas.
Loss.
And what's the last game? It's empty here for us.
I mean, Louisville, they beat them every year. So
okay. So 8-win season is what you
that's best case scenario. Yeah.
Best case 8 wins.
I think so, because it gets very tricky. And the other trend that has really hurt Stoops from a approval rating standpoint.
Yeah.
Last 10 Power 4 conference games at home, they're 3-7. Like they've lost way too many home games and games that really matter. I think that Auburn one's really tough. And then a lot of the season though hinges beating South Carolina.
Sure.
For both teams. You know, if you win that one, you can get to 7-8 wins. But if you lose that one, you're scratching a claw and just go to a bowl game.
Where I struggle with the Ole Miss game, and I understand your point, like a game that they shouldn't win, that they'll win. They're so good at home. Lane Kiffin's offense struggles on the road. But
it's true. That's my spicy take for the TexAgs audience.
I like it. So 8 wins. Are Kentucky fans going to be happy with that?
Over the moon. I think so.
Okay.
I think they would be, knowing the schedule. But I say this a lot, and this is me being bullish, because most of it I'll probably, when we sit down and do the real ones, just 7-5 season. But not all 7-5s are created equally, right? If you win at Tennessee, that makes a lot of Kentucky fans happy.
Sure.
You know, and if you go to Texas and you don't get your teeth kicked in, right? Like when you play Georgia, you don't just get ran off the field.
Can you beat Texas for us, please? Like make that the game, that Ole Miss, make the Texas game. Come on, man.
There is listening to Sark talk yesterday about knowing the league and having the deepest roster ever. It's like, man, it looks good on paper, and you got a great plan, Sark, but everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Mark Stoops knows what it's like to get punched in the mouth, and I do think Kentucky will go to Austin and at least soften them up a little bit, right? They're gonna rough them up ahead of that rivalry game.
Rough them up, and then we just destroy them 40-0. I mean, all right. Let me ask you this.
That'd be nice. That'd be real nice.
A&M, we've got 1 minute left on the segment. A&M, do you see them as a 8-4, a 9-3, a 10-2? I don't have the schedule in front of me, but
right. It's one of those. There's there's the top dogs, and then there's like this second group.
Yes.
Where I'm trying to figure it out. Of that group, I think I like LSU the most, and A&M's the one I can't figure out.
Yep.
Right? Like it's like, what's the first year coach going to do? So it's exciting to follow along, though.
Sure. Yeah. What I tell people here in the closing seconds is, this team is close. Every team in the SEC feels like they're close, but this team is close with some direction. I think some of those losses on the road become wins, and that's where you go. From
margin of error is very slim.
Yep.
Very slim.
Great seeing you, brother.
Thanks, David.
Thank you very much. When we come back, we will start hour number 2. I think Sam Acho at some point during that first segment. That and more. It is TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio here at SEC Media Days, day 4, as we prepare for Sam Acho, who should be joining us in the next 10 minutes from ESPN. Obviously, he played at University of Texas. I think one of the things that I like about SEC Media Day is I make these opinions. I think, and this is like a lesson for all of us, right? I make these opinions on people that because of their Twitter persona, and then you meet them, they're actually not bad. It's weird. Like I want to have these negative opinion because the way people talk about A&M or this or that, which is such a stupid thing to base an opinion on people as humans, but we do it, and we feel like this should be a natural enemy, right? And then you meet them, they're actually kind of nice. Nick, are you getting that kind of sense? Like, I know you weren't listening to my commentary there, but like, what I like about SEC Media Days is some of these people that I make this opinion about, and you meet them, they're actually kind of nice. And you're like, it is just Twitter. It is just a place, you know?
I believe everybody, for the most part, the vast majority of people are nice, kind people. They're people here that I think take their fandom a little too far and let that get in the way of doing, their job. And it's okay. Like, you can be partial to the school you're covering, but again, showing up in gear, you know what I mean? Like wearing your school's gear and hats and polos, that kind of, that's a little weird to me.
Here's the thing, like, and you could tell me I'm wrong here, but I try, it's not try. I'm me on the air, that I'm me off the air, and I'm me on Twitter. Like there isn't like an act. I mean, of course, we all have an act that we like. There's certain ways the way I am around my children is different than the way I am with Billy, is different than the way I am with my buddies, like we all have these different versions of ourselves. But at the end, I think you are who you are, right? And my Twitter personality, which is, I hope, the same as my real personality, right? Like it's just that, I think that's the part that I'm taking away, because there was an interview yesterday we were going to have. I forget who it was, and I had already made up my opinion that I wasn't going to like this dude,
Oklahoma guy,
and he was great.
It was, I believe his name was Trey or something.
Tyler.
Like that. Tyler.
Yeah, he was great. He was great. Like you making opinions of people based on their sports takes is dumb. Now, if you don't like their personality, like I think Stephen A. Smith, for instance, is really good at what he does. It's just not my cup of tea, that style of broadcast. All right.
Yeah.
But I could take him in doses. I'm never going to send him a mean tweet because I disagree with his opinion. Like, he's not my style. You know who I like? I like Clay Travis. I think Clay Travis is awesome.
Where's he at, by the way? Where's the Outkick guys?
I mean, well,
come on.
Come to Trey Wallace is here.
Come to Dallas. I know.
But
I was looking for our boy like Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow.
I love those dudes. But like Clay, I don't agree with everything that Clay says. But I think his style of opinions and broadcasting is fantastic. Our guy Pate, I don't agree with everything that Pate says, but he's the best. He's amazing. And by the way, Josh Pate on air is the same as Josh Pate off air. They're the same guys. And that's one of the cool things. Jake Crane, who I can see across the way from here, exactly the same way on air as he is off air.
Yep.
Right next to us right now, we got Greg McElroy and Cole Kublik.
Same thing.
Same kind of guys, right? And Cole will rib on you on the air and rib on you off air, and also give you the best insight out. Like that guy is. There's a few people that I'm amazed at how they break down. Their mind is able to process information the way it does. Cole is one of the elites at doing that. John Harris is another one, right? Like Johnny Harris, who we didn't do our hit with him yesterday. He is like his ability to remember things. And by the way, John Harris on the radio is John Harris off the radio. So kind of looking at this whole thing, I think it could be a message to all of us. So like, you could dislike somebody because there's a sports take, but at the end of the day, a lot of them are good people, right? So I don't know. That it was just on my mind. I wanted to talk about it. I also want to talk a little bit about Jalen Milroe. So I did not know this because I was not in the media scrum yesterday, but he was asked about Connor Wigman. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he was asked about Connor. He said, He's a Texas kid, local around my high school, not too far. So I've had the chance to share the same, the same Texas football with him. I'm pumped for him, all the success he's had at A&M, and I'm pulling for him. Texas is a great state for football, especially at the quarterback level. The resources are being provided in the state of Texas with big stadiums, great coaching staffs. The weight rooms are outstanding. It's a lot of factors of performance in high school quarterbacks with all the resources provided. Texas high school quarterbacks are the truth, right? We've seen the proof in the pudding. But I don't think we often see quarterbacks pulling for other quarterbacks, right? Like now, he was asked a question. He's nice. Not every are we all pulling for? By the way, are we going to put Sam here? Is that what we're going to do?
That's correct.
Okay, because I see him across the way. Sometimes you're asked things. Yeah, I hope he does great. And in the back, I think Jalen Milroe sounds pretty. And he's an X factor in this league. What Jalen's going to be able to do this year, if Kalen DeBoer is able to adapt his system in a way that maximizes Jalen's stats and his ability, I think this could be a huge year for Jalen Milroe. But then the question is if it goes south, how quickly does he bring in Ty Simpson? Those are the questions. Let's not forget last year, Alabama decided to bench Milroe and then brought him right back when they realized, oh my goodness, we don't have the guy. And then Tommy Rees and the whole experiment did not work. They had to evolve, get the right system for Jalen Milroe. An entire offseason with Kalen DeBoer, changing the system around. I think that is going to be huge for Jalen Milroe. As for some of the other quarterbacks in the league that are getting a lot of the props, it's one thing to do it in the Big 12, brother. It's one thing to do it in the Big 12. It's another thing to do it in the SEC, and that's why we've seen Connor do it. Unfortunately, it's been a small sample set, but we have seen Connor do it, and we've seen him do it at a very high level. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Let's go to the fake angry elephant using Social Center. I'll read some of these. Madden in Houston wants to talk a little bit about Mark Stoops' offenses, and he says Stoops' offense is boring. Very happy he isn't here. Look, here's my thing about whatever defensive coach you bring in. Tell him to come back. I don't know how much time he's going to. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Sam Acho's with us. Sam, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. So you always, like this guy right here who's shooting the picture, he's always smiling. You're always smiling too, right?
We got a lot in common, man. So Luke and I have taken the pictures. We went to a school called St. Mark's School of Texas in Dallas.
Yeah.
And we've connected actually on social media a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, man, you know, the roots run deep.
Yeah. So when was your last year at Texas? What year was that?
2010.
2010. So you feel this rivalry, right?
In my bones.
Yeah.
In my bones.
So what do people, Texas fans that ask you that maybe don't know, like Luke doesn't know the rivalry. Well, his dad does, but he doesn't know the rivalry the way you do. What do you like? How do you explain the love-hate kind of thing that we have?
There's no love. It is just
love to hate, I should say.
Correct. Like it's just hate. And here's one way to explain it. So Von Miller, I played against him in that rivalry. Obviously, we've played against each other in the NFL. We're both in the Senior Bowl together. I consider Von a friend, and not like, hey, we're texting every day kind of thing, but like we see each other, we say hi.
Right.
But it's not, hey, Sam, or hey, Longhorn, it's hey, T-Sip. That's what he calls me.
Yeah.
And mind you, I'm still like, hey, dude, what is a T-Sip? And I thought we were friends. That's part one. And then part two is the game. I was just asked earlier, they said, man, what's the most memorable college football experience? And I said it was at Kyle Field. I don't know if it was 2009, like probably one of the last years we played there. Maybe it was 2010. And you all were singing, the A&M fans were singing the fight song. And it got to the part where they're swaying back and forth, arm in arm, hand in hand, and they're saying the Saw Varsity's horns off.
Yeah.
But it's not just what they were saying, because I'm like, hey, that's kind of graphic. But also it's the fact that I could not hear the person next. We're about a foot away from each other. I could not hear my teammate next to me. That's how loud that stadium was. I played 9 years. I played nearly a decade in the NFL, played in loud stadiums, right? Seahawks, 12th man. Kyle Field, Texas playing at A&M was the loudest place I have ever played or ever experienced in my entire life. And so the hatred is real.
So how loud do you think it'll be this time? The stadium's a little bigger than the last time you were there.
Yeah.
And the hate is even more.
Yeah, it'll be a lot louder. And I think the reason why is that about 10 or 15, however many years ago it was, people said that this rivalry was over. And I think both you and I, and probably Luke, and a lot of us listening, knew that it wasn't over for good, but it was going to be over for a while.
Yep.
And now the rivalry has been renewed once again. There's 12, 13 years of pent-up aggression, pent-up disgust, pent-up disdain for one another. And now these teams get a chance to face each other again every year. After having not doing it for a long time, I think the place is going to be rocking.
So let me ask you this. I did local television in Houston, and I had to give Texas the same love that I give A&M at that role, right?
Yeah.
At TexAgs, I don't have to do that. I can just be mean, right? How is it difficult?
Be me or be mean?
Both.
Oh, man.
But how difficult is that? Because I feel like when you put the analyst hat on, you can separate the two. Like you can take off that fan hat and put that analyst hat on.
Yeah, it's difficult, but it's doable. Here's what I mean by that. So last year I called the Texas game when they played Washington in the college football playoff, the Sugar Bowl.
Sure.
I was on the field doing the Pat McAfee broadcast, megacast. Mind you, I had been watching Texas not only all season, but I called Quinn Ewers' first game a couple years ago. I called a couple of their games throughout the year, watched them for the last several years, knew a bunch of the guys on the team, but also I'm a college football analyst. So I've been watching Washington as well, getting to know those players' stories. I'm looking at matchups, trying to find weaknesses. And before the game, I'm sitting there like, man, I like Washington. And it's hard for me to say that as a fan because, man, I know the guys. I know Coach Sark. I respect those guys. They brought me in to come and speak to the team earlier in the year. Like, I love those human beings. But from a matchup perspective, I like Washington. And so there is a piece of fandom that I think is real, right? You went there, right? I was talking with Nick Saban yesterday, and you could tell he has some dislike for Texas. And I was going back and forth with him. I was like, dude, why am I getting riled up? Well, because there's that little bit of angst. But also there's this idea of, hey, you could actually take the fan hat off, put the analyst hat on, and be an evaluator of talent, of scheme, of abilities, and of programs.
All right, so I'm going to talk to you as an Aggie, and I want you to talk me off the ledge, right?
All right.
As an Aggie, I look at Texas like every year, Texas, I mean, they were really good last year. There's no doubt about it. That's why they're in the playoffs. But they barely got past Houston. They barely got past TCU.
Yeah.
They got a nice schedule in the SEC, in my opinion.
They beat Texas Tech 57-7 in the Big 12 championship.
They did.
Sure throw that in there too.
Yeah, they did. And then they lost to Washington 2 years ago.
This is true.
So I say that to you.
Michael Penix had Michael Penix had played out of his mind.
He did. And then Texas had a chance at the end.
Sure.
But why will it be different in the SEC?
because Texas beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, a thing that teams don't do.
Yep.
Texas the year before could have beat Alabama, and of course could have, would have, should have, but Quinn Ewers gets hurt. But before Quinn Ewers gets hurt, threw a couple deep bombs to Xavier Worthy over Alabama's defense, and actually missed one early in the game. So I think why it would be different is that Texas beat the SEC champion in their house handily, without, it wasn't a question mark, it wasn't like a close game. It wasn't like, hey, Texas was in control pretty much from start to finish. There were some lulls. And so, number one. Number two, the talent is there. Listen to Nick Saban talk about this Texas team. He says, man, this is the deepest Texas team since Sark has been there. And this is coming off of a team that just went to the college football playoff. And then I think if I'm trying to talk you off of a ledge, I would say that Texas does need to prove it. They do, right? Excuses are easy to make. You could say, oh, man, Michael Penix Jr. played outstanding. He did. Well, Texas, the defensive backfield didn't play well at all. And they hadn't played well. There have been spurts in season when they didn't play well. And so that needs to get better. If they don't, they'll be exposed again. And so I think that Texas has a lot to prove. I think that the September 7th, I believe, game it is against Michigan should be a good litmus test, right? Texas plays Georgia. Texas plays before A&M. They play Florida. There's so many matchups that I think A&M will be able to look and say, okay, are they back? But unless Texas goes and beats A&M, none of this conversation will matter.
Well, let me ask you about Coach Elko and what A&M might be this year. Hard team to evaluate because we know they've been close, but bad teams find ways to lose games. Now they have a new head guy.
Yeah, so I think two things. I would love to, you as a Texas guy, talk about, because I'm A&M, I feel like they've been bad for a decade, right? Since Johnny Manziel, it's been like average, but I'm riling up fans right now.
2020 happened.
Okay,
take away that for a moment. What happened?
2020 almost canceled season.
9-1, and in an all SEC schedule. Does Alabama count their championship?
Alabama does count.
Okay. Does LeBron count as championship?
LeBron does count.
I just want to make sure.
Okay, good. Okay, but before 2020, what was it? 2016, 2015. But anyways, okay.
Yeah.
So, but I think the biggest thing for A&M is Mike Elko.
Yeah.
Like Mike Elko can coach. I remember like watching Duke. Not even from an offensive perspective, from a defensive perspective, they gave every team they played fits. Look at Clemson.
Yeah.
Right? Like they exposed is not the right word, but like Duke was a force to be reckoned with. And a lot of that can and is attributed to Mike Elko. And so I think of a guy that's been at A&M before, a guy that knows the program, a guy that knows how to win, and a guy that just did it at a place where it hasn't been done a lot. I get excited about what he's going to do and how he's going to build that program back up to where I think it needs to be.
I appreciate your personality and your candor, man.
Thank you so much.
Good luck to you.
Yes, sir.
And I love watching you on air. You're great.
I appreciate it. Hook 'em horns.
Giggle.
Oh.
Hey, thank you for wearing maroon today.
It was an accident. It was a total accident. I'm wearing my burnt orange tomorrow.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate you. We'll get you on again, all right?
All right, thank you.
Sam Acho here on TexAgs Radio. Great conversation. Appreciate that. And I love when people can just be themselves, and Sam is obviously that, sharing his thoughts on Texas. And look, he ain't wrong, but he ain't right? Like, they did go to Alabama and gave it to them. They were in complete control of that game. Complete control of that game. But they also should have lost the U of H game. But you can say A&M should have won this game or that game. I do appreciate his candor, though, because let's face it, like this season, all the years of being in the SEC and feeling like you're here, and when Texas gets here, they're not going to be there. They're in opposite positions, right? When 2021 happened and I'm in Hoover and we hear the news and we're ticked off about it and we're unhappy. Let's remember what we were thinking in 2021. We're coming off the 2020 season, 9-1. Texas had was that the first year of Sark? That was the first year of Sark, right? 2021 was the first year of Sark?
Correct.
Right. So think about, like, when the news happens, Texas hires Sark, and it wasn't their first choice, right? I mean, everybody's first choice is Nick Saban. I shouldn't say that because people can throw it back at A&M, but you get my point. And I still question the hire because what had Sark done other than being a coordinator? But think about where things were in 2021. You're coming off the Orange Bowl. You were 9-1. You're recruiting at an elite level. You feel good about your quarterback room because at that time you got Haynes, who he was supposed to be the truth. And you have, who else am I missing here? Oh, you had Zach Calzada. Before we had seen him play, he was destined for greatness. And what happens? Like, you suck. 8-4 season that year felt horrible. It felt because not only was your offense struggling before Haynes got hurt, and by the way, it was a series, but it felt like a trend, right? And it wasn't just quarterback play. The offensive line was atrocious. Early on, you couldn't run the ball. And Texas that year goes 5-7. After a coaching change, Tom Herman moves on, and you felt like, hey, I felt. The only reason they went 8-4, okay, let's be honest. It felt like they went 9-3 that year, which felt like a bad year, by the way, because we all know they won the LSU game, the game that was all right. So but they went 8-4. But Texas goes 5-7 that year, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, Texas is going to come in here. They're going to be the team that's coming off a 7-5 year and a 5-7 year. But the roles reversed, right? Texas ends up getting their quarterback. We've got our quarterback, but he's got to wait his turn. The 5-7 year happens. The 7-5 year happens. Jimbo's gone. Appalachian State in the middle, all that. I remember in 21 when we're laughing about Kansas, and I think OB's, what was it? His column, I think it was Arkansas is our Kansas, I think is how it was headlined, something to that effect. And, but Appalachian State did happen. And at that moment, I think everyone was like, I don't know if this is going to work out the way I signed up for it. Because when you signed up for Jimbo in 2018, you're thinking 10 wins every year. Bad year, 8-4. Those thoughts and expectations have not changed with Coach Elko, who is speaking right now. I don't know if we have any tweets that we can get to from that. I don't know if it's on the rundown or not. I can't find it as we're talking. But those expectations haven't changed. What has changed is you kind of want to casually walk into it as opposed to expect and tell the world that this is the deepest and best team we've had and this and that, like we saw yesterday. Thank you, Matthew. We are like, I think we're going to be really good. I hope we're really good. And I think we could be really good, but we got to see a couple of things. And we haven't been seeing that because there's no season to see. We saw a limited thing in spring and practice and in the game. But at the end of the day, Texas is entering this at where I thought in 2021 A&M would be entering this. And while I have my questions about Texas, that schedule is manageable. They do have a good quarterback. They do, right? He seems like a likable kid on the podium. They have a good quarterback. They have the resources. They have the 5 stars, right? That part does not change. Unfortunately, it is what it is. All right, here's Trey Zune. He says on the results in the trenches the last couple of years, can I say the P word? It ticks us off. He uses the one with a P, not the P word, that P word. It makes us want to work that much harder. Quotes are just quotes, guys, but I think offensive linemen, when you've heard a couple years on your own flagship show, right? TexAgs Radio, like, the offensive line hasn't been good. The offensive line hasn't been good, right? Fans saying it. Quarterbacks getting hurt. It better. Like, I think sometimes guys and girls are built a little differently. Like the way I coach my daughters, like home coach, right? And my sons are two different things. There's a certain way that I can get a point across to my daughters that's different to my boys. But if I'm getting a point across to an offensive lineman or to my sons, we're not celebrating here until we do what we got to do. We're not having cake, all right? Like, hey, Dad, can I get dessert? No, we didn't earn dessert today.
Well, you're not getting cake anyway. I mean,
I had cake on, no.
Yeah.
What was trying to think?
Yeah, try again.
Hold on.
Try maybe another example.
My son's birthday. I had cheesecake. Yes, I did.
Okay. Cheesecake's great. That's the right kind of cake to have.
It's the best cake.
Yeah.
Underrated. It's underrated, right?
No, I don't think it's underrated. I think it's
the best. It's the what compares with it?
Tres leches. Is that cake technically?
Yeah. Tres leches is
Well, I'd say
great.
tres leches is better than cheesecake.
I like to prefer to say tres leches.
Thank you.
But I would say cheesecake is better.
You were in your element last night, by the way,
What do you mean?
at the restaurant.
What do you mean?
You're in your element.
What does that mean?
You're with your community, your people. You go to those
Well,
meetings.
The Mexican restaurant meetings?
Yeah.
I'm not Mexican, Nick.
Well, I mean,
Do you go to Canadian meetings?
no, I'm not Canadian.
Yeah, I'm not Mexican. Why would I go to those meetings?
Luke wants to chime in.
No, I just wanted to say that last night David was very funny.
I learned that.
Thank you.
What was it? Caballo is gentleman and not
No, caballo means horse,
horse.
and caballero.
Caballero. That's correct.
Good, great pronunciation there.
I can, if I hear it, I can say it. But
You know what's interesting?
I thought that was cowboy, but you reminded me that's vaquero.
Vaquero way. Hey, here's something that's very interesting to me. Okay, that Luke thinks he's really bought into the no fun Nuño moniker, and he's like, "Hey, man, you actually talk to people, and you actually smile, and you joke." That's who I am, except at 5 a.m. through the show.
No, it's just that I see you in a work environment, and so when I see you outside of
Lifestyle,
that, yeah. But then I see you at the restaurant, you're cracking jokes with the waiter, you're making everyone laugh at the table, and I'm just like that. I don't see you in that light typically. So the funny meter is amplified when you do that.
I was getting
because
jokes.
you're not always you're not always like that.
No, so I'm no fun Nuño for a reason, right? What? It's kind of like what I was telling the offensive line. We're not celebrating until we have a great offensive line. We're not having cake, Luke, okay? You're not getting chips and salsa unless you actually get like Paul Feinbaum.
No,
Okay?
he got off the hook for that.
No, not on my hook.
Well,
You got off Billy's hook. Billy's just like, leave Paul alone and we'll get him next week.
I wasn't doing anything to Paul. I was just having conversations with him and asking if he wanted to come on TexAgs Radio.
By the way, I don't know how much you guys could hear, but wasn't Sam great on the show?
Yeah, he was. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I've told this story kind of that.
Just give me the hook of horns walking by.
If we gave horns down, they would. I mean, the stream would.
Someone would throw a penalty flag. Or I guess not in the SEC, but yeah.
He didn't like our 9-1 season. He didn't think that was a real one. And then he admitted, well, yeah, Alabama's championship does count. Interesting. All right. I appreciate that he wore A&M colors for us today. That was really nice of him. All right. Let's do this. When we come back, our friend, did I have a point about the offensive line? I think I made it, right? Like, I hope they're ticked off. I hope they're upset. And like this whole season is about proving a point and like not celebrating any little victories. The only victory is getting us into a New Year's Six Bowl, a championship, a playoff. Like that's it. You know, I'm sorry. As of July, as the season goes on, we'll have our narratives will develop. But July the 18th, right?
Correct.
All right. July the 18th. 9-3 is like, that's what I think. Well, I think 8-4, 9-3, like we all do. Like I'm not sticking to a flag or anything. But bro, we're not happy unless we're 10-2. Is that fair for everybody? Like that makes us happy. What makes us very happy is beyond 10-2. But if they get 10-2, they get in the playoffs, right?
Right.
All right. Thank you, Luke. You're a funny guy too.
Thank you.
You and Sam just smile.
Yeah, we got a lot to smile about.
Yeah. What is he?
Luke, go find. Oh, sorry. What?
What were you? What
I was going to Luke, go find Connor O'Gara.
It sounded like something else.
No, what?
Luke, go. Yeah, even the YouTubers are agreeing with
no. Well, guess what? They're on a delay, so they don't know what you did.
Heritage Films time. Chance McClain, there's no delay there. Well, the delay is it takes 2 months to make the documentary film, but you should get a documentary film done about your family business, about your family ranch. You may be asking, why would I want a documentary? I mean, yeah, my family story is cool and all, but like, I don't know if it's worthy of it. Yes, it is. It's not just for Hollywood celebrities and actors and athletes, right? You can have a documentary that tells your family story, what your family's about, how your family got started, how your family business got started, how your family ranch got started. All these cool events that you do with your buddies on the weekends, golfing. You can have an eye in the sky, be Chance McClain, and he can get it done for you in about 2 months. A heritage film is an awesome, awesome thing to do, and I highly recommend it. We did it for my father, and I think you should do it for your family as well. You can also do a Yearflix, which is a 20-minute option, Q&A style, for the youngers in your family, green screen in the background. We call it a benchmark video where you get to find out what your kids are into at certain stages of their life. You maybe do it their freshman year of college, their sophomore year of college, their junior year when they get their Aggie ring, and maybe when they get married or when they graduate. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films. Hey, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Day 4 SEC Media Days. Connor O'Gara, Saturday down south, a good friend of the show. What's up, buddy?
Not a whole lot, man.
Yeah.
I feel like we do this earlier in the week. This is the
Yeah.
latest I think we've ever done this.
Yeah, I think it's A&M's the last day, and it's kind of, we have a different kind of workflow here. I want to get into A&M because we had you on maybe 3 weeks ago or so. You think A&M is a 7-5, 8-4 team ish, but things could pan out a certain way. Kind of give me how you got to that, and then I'll kind of investigate a little bit further.
Yeah, I think the questions are the back end, the middle and the back end of the defense. I think replacing an Edgerrin Cooper is not an easy thing to be able to do. I thought he was the best linebacker in the NFL draft. I can make a case he was the best linebacker in all of college football last year and did a lot of things really well. I think A&M is going to be exceptional up front, but the questions that I still have are on the offensive line. I think the backfield could be nice with Ruben Owens, but not necessarily a takeover every type of game type backfield. And I love Connor Wigman. We've talked about this a lot. I love me some Connor Wigman. I'm a believer in the talent. It's just, what are the surrounding pieces going to be? Are you going to go into hostile atmospheres on the road? If there are hostile atmospheres on the onset, it doesn't look like there are based on A&M's schedule and the way that it breaks down with those home matchups being the all-important headliners. But
Florida's going to be tough, man.
I think Florida is going to be a difficult matchup for a lot of teams, but you still question, how's Florida going to be able to close out games? Sure. Are they going to do things to cannibalize themselves? It's just going to be a fair question as long as Billy Napier's there.
All right, talent-wise, is A&M close to what they had last year with the additions and the subtractions, or are they far off?
I think they're close. I don't think it's fair to say that they have the same talent level. Okay. I think they retained a lot more than people realized. And when you saw the Bill Connolly percentage of returning production, which initially at A&M is #1 in the SEC coming back, and then it factors in like post-spring transfers and stuff like that. And then I think they fell a little bit, like 5th or something like that, but still pretty high and pretty respectable.
Yep.
For all the narratives about this mass exodus and stuff, there was actually a lot of talent that was brought in. I thought Mike Elko did a tremendous job in the transfer portal. I am pretty mad about Nick Scorton, because if that man is not a first-team All-SEC guy going into the season, I will be irate.
Right.
For those who don't know the story, this is a 19-year-old who was named a captain and led a power conference in sacks. He is that dude. I don't know how many people I need to tell this to, but Nick Scorton is worth the price of admission, and that is probably going to be the best player on A&M's roster, I think, this year. I think he's going to be tremendous. And so there are things working in A&M's favor, obviously, despite the fact that it's going to feel like a very new team.
Yeah. So if the roster is somewhat similar, would you say the schedule is easier than it was last year? There's a method to my madness. So
yeah, I think so.
No Bama, right? Like no Ole Miss.
Yeah, no Bama, no Ole Miss. Man, I feel like that opener against Notre Dame is going to tell us a lot. If they play that down to the wire and it is shades of the 2018 Clemson game, and if it feels like, oh man, early, year one kind of statement, I think we're going to be looking at that home schedule a little bit differently. I do think that you're not just going to walk into College Station and just blow out the Aggies. I don't think that they have a roster that necessarily sets up for that this year. So that's the good news, is you don't look at that schedule and say, well, they're going to get blown out in 3 or 4 games.
Right.
It could happen, but at the same time, I think that's maybe the most encouraging thing about this year one, is that you don't instantly feel intimidated, whereas like Florida, oh.
Yeah, that's intimidating. The reason I bring that all up is you've been critical of Jimbo for a long time. They got somebody else in charge now, and a guy who's very detail-oriented. If the roster is somewhat similar, okay, they lost Evan Stewart, Walter, I get it. And all those games, all of them came down to a play or two, as they usually do in the SEC. I feel like as long as the offensive line protects Connor Wigman, they should win more games.
That's the if. They should.
And they have different guys on the line, and they have a different offensive line coach.
I'm a little bit scarred by the offensive line play over the last few years. It's been one of the most disappointing units in the SEC. I was ready post 2020, the Maroon Goons, that group. I was ready to say this is exactly what Jimbo Fisher's been building towards. And then ever since then, you have looked at that unit and been disappointed every year. And as a result, you've also looked at the quarterback position and seen the injuries pile up. And you just can't have that. You can have depth at quarterback, which A&M actually had last year, but you're still limiting your upside when that's not necessarily a staple of your game. That 2020 A&M team, yes, albeit the weird COVID season, they could go into any place and be able to say, we have an elite offensive line who's going to give us a chance. And I don't know that A&M has that type of unit just yet. So that's probably what's holding me back.
Why are you so bullish on Texas?
I'm bullish on Texas because I'm not the guy that says Texas is back. I won't even say Texas is back right now. I'd never say that in these airwaves. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
But I look at Texas and what they did last year, and it wasn't this one-off fluky type of season because they went into Big 12 play and dominated. They won Big 12 games by an average of 17 points. They went into Tuscaloosa and handed Nick Saban his ugliest home loss ever.
Yep.
And that changes how we talk about a program. There's a reason we're not talking about Oklahoma in that same sort of way, because Texas had a better victory last year than any I can remember Oklahoma having during the playoff era. So I'm so bullish on Texas because of the offensive line that they returned 4 or 5 starters. Kelvin Banks Jr. going to be a top 10 pick probably in the NFL draft. Quinn Ewers taking that next step. I think he still has room for improvement. I love this backfield. I think CJ Baxter is going to lead the SEC in rushing. The Orlando native, the 5-star second-year player. That's what Sark does with running backs. And then I look at that defense. Yes, they lose Sweat and Murphy, but they return a lot of production on the back end of that group. And they have coordinator continuity. Steve Sarkisian talked about that the other day. He said all 4 years he's had the same exact coordinators. So you add in all of that, and then the schedule's cake. They have one SEC road game until mid-November, and it's at Vandy. I mean, the scheduling gods bless Texas in a way that Longhorn fans couldn't have dreamed of.
Yep. That part I 100% agree with you. Where I wonder is, I understand that, they destroyed Tech and they had the margin of victory. There's also all those games that, like, they should have.
The Wyoming game?
The Wyoming, U of H.
Mm-hmm.
I think TCU and Kansas State, like those games in the SEC are losses.
True. Very much. And that's the interesting thing about this Texas team, though, is that I actually still think from last year's group, they still have room to improve. I think they're top 30 in percentage of returning production. The great metric that if you ever hear me reference that on these airwaves, or Billy Napier was referencing it yesterday, that's the metric that Bill Connolly puts together. And I think that group still has the ability to get better. This isn't a vintage Steve Sarkisian offense yet. That's the crazy thing. That group last year did not look like 2020 Alabama or anything crazy. And I think Texas at its best can be that. Now, I'm not as high on the receivers as some are. I'm not necessarily like, you're going to see Isaiah Bond probably have like second team all SEC love, or maybe even first team all SEC love. If he gets first team all SEC over Trey Harris, I'm going to blow a gasket. But I do think that there are things that Texas can actually get better at that they, probably left a little bit on the table last year.
So maybe my maroon goggles are on for this, but I was a little annoyed yesterday looking at Texas getting all the love and people forgetting that Alabama was here too. Like, I mean, if you watch Sports Center, it was orange. It wasn't very Alabama.
I'm going to chalk that up to it being early in the day. Bama starts off the day. Jalen Milroe, quite the crowd, but Quinn Ewers had the biggest crowd of any player that I've seen so far. And I don't know that I necessarily expected that, but he definitely had the biggest crowd to date. And it's new. It's exciting. And I know that I'm speaking to a place where it's not necessarily as exciting. I think it still is for A&M fans, but maybe it's not as fun.
Right.
And it's not something that we're looking forward to. But I do think the fact that Texas is relevant. If Texas was coming in here post 2021, 5-7, Sark is on the hot seat. Everybody's just predicting how many, are they going to lose 8 games, 9 games? I think it just has a totally different tenor. And instead, it feels like Texas is coming in and ready to compete.
All right. And by the way, one thing I'll bring up about Sark, I think everything you've said, I agree with. Maybe not the record, but I do agree with what you're saying.
Nobody agrees with me on the record, by the way. I realize I'm out there by saying they're going to start 12-0.
I didn't even tell the people that, but it's out there. But Sark before last year was a 500 career head coach.
Yeah.
So, and I think he's an offensive genius, no doubt, right? But to me, like, putting him already in the top 3 or 4 coaches in college football, I struggle with just because I don't think there's been the history there. But let's move off of Texas and move on to Oklahoma, because another team that people are, I look at their schedule, like, I don't know how people are seeing 9 or 10 wins here, but how do you get there?
I am there with Oklahoma, and it's tough to get there. It's tough to get to 9-3 with that schedule. It's the second most difficult schedule in college football. It is. And the questions about how they're going to perform in the trenches, they're valid. They have an entirely new offensive line. They've got a redshirt freshman quarterback in Jackson Arnold who has high expectations and is, brought here to kind of be the guy. You can you talk to him and you kind of see that confidence in him. But at the same time, it's still a massive question mark. But the good news for Oklahoma and why I got to 9 wins with them is because I think this is going to be a true vintage Brent Venables defense.
Okay.
I look at all of those groups that he had at Clemson during the 2010s, and I say, why can't he have a group like that? They have 2 preseason All-Americans returning with Bowman and Stutzman, 2 guys that were here this week. They have a huge addition on that defensive line with Dominic Williams, somebody that was very his transfer portal story was very well documented, and that was huge to kind of shore up the interior of that defensive line. And they have one of the best pass catching groups in all of college football. It is elite. People that don't know the name Deion Burks coming in from Purdue.
Yep.
I feel like I always put Nick Scorton and Deion Burks in the same breath because they're like Purdue basically lost their 2 best players to the SEC, and Deion Burks is coming in and he is going to be a difference maker in that receiver room, which is already really good with Farouk and Anderson and Anthony. This is just a group that, in my opinion, is capable of putting up big time points. And if that defense can be one of the top 10, top 15 groups in the country, then that's how you can get to 9 wins for Oklahoma.
Auburn, a team that I think it was good. A&M got them early last year. Peyton Thorne was atrocious in that game, but they're getting them a little bit later this year. Where are you on Auburn?
Man, it's tough. I'm too high on Auburn. I'm admitting that right now because I have them going 8-4. And by the way, if you come up with record predictions, you should predict every single SEC game that's played to be able to get to these places, which I do before coming here. So I'm not just throwing out random numbers. I promise. I do have a full crystal ball series that'll be coming out. But I got to 8-4 with this Auburn team because I do think that Hugh Freeze taking control of this offense is going to be beneficial. As weird as it is that he essentially cleaned house with his coordinators after year 1. And they do bring in a lot of talent at the receiver position. Lambert Smith coming over from Penn State. Cam Coleman is the guy that they are giddy about. The true freshman stepping in. I don't think he's going to be 2012 Amari Cooper or anything like that, but they have more help at the receiver position for Peyton Thorne. And those post-spring transfers at the quarterback position are set up for failure. That doesn't mean Peyton Thorne is going to take off and be an all-SEC player or anything like that. But I got to think he's going to be better after Hugh Freeze essentially punted on the transfer portal with getting a quarterback. I would have liked to have seen them go after someone and then develop them, starting with, those spring practices. But I do think Peyton Thorne's going to be better. And I do like Eugene Asante leading this defense.
Connor, appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. All right.
Awesome.
All right, now let's hit a little break. We'll come back and we'll have an open segment, but we're talking QC Kinetics, arthritic joint pain keeping you from doing the things that you love to do. If that's the case, you need to reach out to our good friends there at QC Kinetics. There are exciting new cellular therapies that get you lasting relief. So if you want to climb a tree, Connor loves climbing trees. You want to jump rope. You want to go for a hike. You want to throw the football with your kids and you have these achy joints that don't get better. Well, you need to reach out to them so you can get moving once again. They've helped out so many people in the Brazos Valley, and they've helped out tens of thousands of people around the country. So if you're living with chronic joint pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know that steroids and surgery are no longer your only options. You have QC Kinetics that can treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. Regenerative restorative cellular treatments are here for your achy joints. Call up QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That's 979-452-6000. All right, TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Day 4, SEC Media Days. We're going to hit a break here soon because we went a little long there with Connor O'Gara. A couple things I want to read out to you. Here is Shamar Turner. Says he has gained 30 pounds this offseason, starting to feel healthy 3 or 4 weeks ago. Also says that Tommy Moffitt has made a huge difference for him. He's rostered at 300 pounds now. And he looks, according to Billy Lucci, he still looks very lean in person. And Torian York on the Texas rivalry. Texas didn't recruit me, so it's personal. Huh. There you go. I like that. And it doesn't take a lot to grab the player's attention when this is a huge magnitude on the opener. Talking about the week 1 matchup against Notre Dame. So, by the way, reminder, if you guys haven't voted for your 24 and 24 premium subscribers at TexAgs.com, go to the premium board. You'll see it on there. Vote. We'd love to get your input so you can help us determine who are the 24 best players at Texas A&M, and that's going to be brought to you by FBS Appliance, by the way. They're bringing us our 24 in 24. Varsity Grill House place is good. If you haven't been there, it's right by the Academy on Highway 6. It's really good, guys. It's a kind of a classy sports vibe to it, real classy. You feel like you're at a kind of, like you want to take your wife out on a date, but you want to hang out with the buddies. Varsity Grill House. You want to take your kids out for some good food? Varsity Grill House. They're Aggie-owned and conveniently located there off the Academy on Highway 6 in College Station. It's a vibrant atmosphere, mouth-watering dishes crafted to care. Sizzling burgers to savory 4-farm steaks. They have a dozen signature cocktails at the bar. They've got something for everyone. Treat yourself to irresistible mason jar desserts. They're perfect ending to a great meal. Let them cater your big-time events as well. They want to be your hosting destination, unforgettable gatherings, and you go by Varsity Grill House, and you're going to love it. It is Varsity Grill House, your home for good times and great food. They want to see you there at the Varsity Grill House. All right, we'll come back. Hour number 3, and then the Elko man at Elko at 11:05. Welcome back in. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3 of the program. John Nabors, our friend who covers Arkansas here. You've got some big things going on in your career, right? Started a new company, what, 6 months ago, 8 months ago?
Yeah, that's the rumor. That's the rumor. Yeah.
How's that going?
Oh, it's ups and downs and everything, but it'd be a lot better if Arkansas sports were better. But it's kind of how it goes.
Coach Cal, I mean, it's fun
Thank
time.
goodness. Yeah, the coach you hired at least was better than the actual games on the field on the court. But yes, you're right. That's been helpful. But man, I'll say this: it was as far as the big 3 sports, it was the worst Razorback year this past year of my lifetime.
Could this year football wise be worse?
Man, I see no way it is.
Really?
I really do.
KJ Jefferson's gone. He was your savior.
That's true. Yeah, and then what happened last year, man, when no one was blocking for him? I mean, I think that what happened last year was unfortunate, and it needed to kind of get blown up a little bit. But listen, I know A&M knows about it, but Bobby Petrino's now the offense coordinator. I like what he's done in the transfer portal and bringing the offense in. I think the schedule's a little bit more favorable, but we'll see.
So this is what we're going to do.
Okay.
Randall Cobb's on his way in right now.
Perfect.
We're going to check in with you. What did we say, 10:35?
Okay.
But whenever you can, okay?
Hey, listen, I'm hovering, so you just tell me when you need me.
Well,
buddy.
I know you got something coming up soon, so
Sure.
we're going to bring you right back
Gotcha.
here.
All right, yeah.
All right, John Nabors. So we'll actually get deep into everything happening there at Arkansas here in a moment. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. This is what we call the awkward guest switch, right? Gets the headset on as I'm in the middle of 7th. Randall Cobb is with us. What's up, man? How you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
David Nuño, pleasure.
Great to meet you.
So I feel like I got a release from the SEC just a few minutes ago, but I feel like it was announced a while ago that you had joined the SEC network. Am I wrong about that?
No, today was the first day that it was released that I'm actually joining SEC network. No, I'm super excited.
That's great, man. So talk a little bit about it. How do you like the broadcasting world?
Well, this is my second day.
Second day, yeah.
They threw me right into the fire, SEC Media Day. Obviously, it's been really fun. It's definitely an adjustment from being on the field, preparing for training camp where a lot of guys are reporting right now. So just taking it all in and just trying to get up to speed with all the different players and different teams.
I got to ask you something that you probably haven't prepared for, so you can get mad at me if you want, right? But Edge Cooper, our linebacker, went to the Packers. Have you seen him on film at all?
I have not.
No,
I have not.
He's
not
the
yet.
truth, though, right? So when you watch him next year, I want you to pay attention to him. All right?
I'll be looking for him.
So what can we expect from Kentucky this year?
What can we expect from Kentucky? I'm excited about the quarterback coming in. They got another receiver, another weapon, downfield threat. They got OC that's coming in that's going to be a big piece. I really enjoy watching the 2 receivers that they have, and Dane Key and I'm blanking on the other kid's name right now, but I'm really excited about
Jamore Macklin.
Yes, and I'm really excited for their opportunity.
So we had a guy on the show earlier, and he thinks they could be really good this year.
Yeah.
Do you have them as like an 8-4-ish, 9-3-ish team, 7-5-ish? Like, not that you've gone through the schedule and combed but like what level of team are they going to be?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
Like again, I'm just now starting, so I haven't really dove into the college tape yet. I'm actually adjusting to the different product. I've been so locked into the NFL product with the hash has been different. Obviously, schematically, it's a little different in college ball, and I'm looking forward to breaking down the film over the next month, preparing for the season.
How similar is I feel like the NFL has copied from the college game offensively the last few years, which is weird to say because the NFL is the gold standard. Talk a little bit about the differences in offense that you've seen.
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference, there has been small pieces, like you say, the NFL copying college football. The RPOs, they have definitely carried over into the NFL, but it's very different in the way that they're run, the way that they go about it, because the rules are a little bit different. And if you watch college ball, the offensive line is sometimes engaging with the linebackers. If they're past 2 yards in the NFL, got to pull them back. So that's a penalty.
How about working with Nick Saban? I mean, that's got to be weird, right? Like, I just see him in the break room walking around. I know it's only been 2 days, but just the thought of it.
Yeah, for sure. I got to be on stage with him yesterday at the desk, and just to talk ball with him. He's just an incredible mind, and I was fortunate enough I got to play against him when I was at Kentucky, and playing against his defense when I was at Kentucky was one of the reasons it gave me a lot of confidence. I'm playing against these guys and I'm having success. I knew that I could go to the next level because he's always been so great at preparing guys for the NFL.
Why broadcasting?
I just wanted to check it out. I want to
Yeah.
try it and see if I'm good at it. You know, I think I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to the game of football, but I got a lot of catching up to do. And I'm looking forward to having that opportunity and really diving into the knowledge of the game.
Do you have any mentors, or how are you going about preparing? Is it Nick is apparently doing thousands of hours of research, like, but it's different. Are you more into the tape? Are you reading a lot? What are you doing?
Well, again, I just now crossed the line, so I haven't even got my credentials for XOs to be able to get on and watch film yet. So that will be me. I'm a film junkie. I've always been a film junkie. I really enjoy the X's and O's and chalk talk and really diving into plays and understanding the systems and systematically speaking on offenses and seeing what they're trying to attack.
So I know you haven't done a lot of research on A&M, but it's a program that we know it, right? We knock on the door a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And then the door sometimes is slammed shut. From afar, what's been your opinion of A&M?
Well, I love the player, your quarterback. I did see a little bit of tape on him. I was able to go on YouTube and watch some
Connor
video.
Wickman.
Yeah. Seeing Connor Wickman and seeing his ability and his accuracy, which really popped off the tape for me. I actually have him as a dark horse Heisman pick right now. We were talking about that a little bit yesterday. I think when you look at his QB rating and the way that he is so efficient with the football, I'm excited to see him progress in this next season and see if we can get a full sample size. So you got a little taste last year with the 4 games. You had his moments the year before his freshman year. I'm really looking forward to seeing if he can make that jump.
Last thing for you, Randall, you know that A&M almost hired Mark Stoops, the Kentucky head coach. So it's kind of it's awkward, like, but it almost happened.
Luckily, it didn't for us. Coach Stoops has been great up in Kentucky, and I'm looking forward to seeing him continue success.
Hey, man, best of luck to you. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Randall Cobb here. Newest addition to the SEC Network and ESPN. Great stuff. Thank you very much for bringing him along here on TexAgs Radio. Look, it's a hard transition, guys. When you and that's why I really appreciate what I've heard about Coach Saban, about how he's going about his business. I mean, the thousands of hours of tape and the research and getting deep into it. It is a transition. A couple of things that Coach Elko did say a little while ago. Let's see. He says an update on Connor Wickman. He's running now in full speed. All right. Full speed. So let's remember where we were in the spring, right? In the spring, we were like, hey, Connor looks okay, but I want to see what he looks like when fall camp begins. And for Coach Elko to say, Coach Elko's not going to just say things to say it. To say that he's a full go and he's running, his full speed, let's go. A huge sign. A healthy quarterback to start the year, guys. We've had so many injured quarterbacks over the last few years. It certainly hurts. Coach Elko asked about what it takes to be a successful program. He talks about culture. Culture matters. When you talk about how to enhance your product, culture plays a big role on that. And look, when you are trying to evaluate a team, there's no culture button. I don't even know. I haven't played the EA college football game. I don't know if culture is part of it. I don't even know. But let's be honest. The last couple of years of the prior regime, the culture was not good. The accountability was not good. And it's one thing to say it, but then when you bring people who have a track record of bringing a certain pedigree and a certain culture to the program, and not to make this a 3-hour Tommy Moffitt radio show, but I think it starts and ends the conversation with Tommy Moffitt, right? What his impact is going to be when we talk about culture. But here's the thing. New players have to buy in, and some people have just moved in recently, right? New players have to buy in. Old players have to adapt, and then you have to have team leaders that not only establish a standard, hold people accountable to the standard. To me, and this is one of the things that Jimbo did it didn't work out, but I like the thought process behind it. You want your locker room to set the standard and set the culture. But the head coach and all the parties involved have to play a role in that. They all have to say, they have to hold the same people accountable. And without a doubt, DN plugged the power cable back in. Oh, that's when the power went out. But you've got to have, when the players aren't getting it done, there have to be repercussions, and your coaching staff has to be a part of that process, right? And if that doesn't happen, then you can't expect for culture to change. Another thing that Coach Elko talked about is what he wants to see from the Aggies. I want to see a program that represents Texas A&M the right way. What does that mean? The right way? Class, respect, excellence, integrity, all the things we talk about the Association of Former Students. I think that same thing can apply for any business. That thing can apply for our football team. And that's what I think Coach Elko wants from his team. A team that is bought into one goal, which is to win the SEC, and to do it the right way. And that's what he expects from his program. Also, Trey Zune on representing the Aggies here at Media Days. Almost ripped your no. Look who it is. That was Billy Lucci messing with me in the background. Trey Zune says, representing the Aggies is a huge honor to represent the 12th man of my team and my coaches and everyone associated with A&M. And that's certainly going to be the case here with these guys. All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hit an early break because I'm just over here just rambling without a mission. We'll come back, and I think Billy may join us. We also have guests. I think we have Braden Gall is going to be joining us here in a moment. I know Billy will be joining us at some point. And I believe John Nabors, and we might, run some of the interviews that we have not run for you yet. Right now, though, we're talking FBS Appliance. Their team of experts are there to help you with appliances that make your house a home, carrying the top brands that make your life easier with appliances that fit any budget. They've been taking care of Texas since 1988, and they have all the trusted brands you can imagine, like Bosch and beyond. They have an expert staff with trained installers to guide you through your purchase, because FBS Appliance wants to be your trusted appliance store. So their commitment to customer satisfaction is at the core of what they do, and that's why they put together a team of trained sales professionals that are experts in their field. They provide personalized assistance drawn on their product knowledge and expertise to guide you through the selection process, whether it's understanding appliance features, accommodating design preferences, or working within your budget. Their team is dedicated to helping you make informed decisions and finding the perfect appliance for your needs. And their services do not stop at sales. They offer expert installation services carried out by skilled technicians who are factory trained. They understand the intricacies of installation. FBS Appliance is committed to delivering an exceptional experience from start to finish. Visit any of their 8 showrooms in Texas, or find them online at factorybuilderstores.com. That's factorybuilderstores.com. Hey, everybody. Hi there.
You grabbed the wrong headset.
Did I really?
I think so. There should be another one near you.
Well, I want to
Oh,
switch.
man.
I'm going to do the old switcheroo. And now we're back on TexAgs Radio.
Making me look like a bad producer, David. Come on now.
How did I do that? It's right here. It would make sense.
Well, if I was a good producer, I would have went and picked that up and put it back,
I'm
in
a
your
big
spot.
boy. I should be able to figure things out, right? Hey, TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So this is hour number 3, and a couple things. I do need to pay some bills during this segment and also kind of explain a couple things that are happening. First off, if you haven't voted for 24 and 24, go do it. Somebody asked on the YouTube chat, where is it? Where can I go vote on it? They actually used that voice. You have to be a premium subscriber, and on the premium boards, you just scroll down, just look at the David Nuño topics, or just scroll till you see my name, or just see, I think it says revised or updated. You'll see it. It's on there. You go to the post, you hit the link, and you vote 1 through 24. We need your help on this, guys, because if it's just us, we're going to get in trouble. We're going to mess it up. I know you guys are the experts, so help us out there. 24 in 24. All right, Brazos Running Company. By the way, we're not going to a break. I just want to talk about our friends at the Brazos Running Company, located at Century Square, locally Aggie owned and operated specialty running store with the best selection of running gear. I got to go visit my guys over there, by the way, in running shoes, brands like On, Hoka, you name it, New Balance, Brooks. If you're a runner or walker or interested in fitness at all, the right shoe makes all the difference. And at Brazos Running Company, they're passionate about running and finding the right shoe for you. They've got all the top brands out there. Birkenstock. They got Vuori. Remember, it is a great place to go when you're looking to shop and buy gifts and whatnot. Make sure you reach out to the Brazos Running Company, located in Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. It is the Brazos Running Company. So we've got some musical chairs happening.
Ringall out. His live show got moved to 10. So.
Okay, good. Good. As Jocko would say.
He said he texted you.
Did he?
Maybe. I don't know.
Did he text me? I don't know.
Let's see.
Let's see.
It's live air.
Does he know who I am?
Yes, of course. We saw him at dinner last.
Oh, he texted me at 7:50.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Swing and a miss. Sorry.
Wait, but I don't look at my phone at 7:50. When I'm on the air, it's about this show.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Did I sound angry there? Oh.
Okay.
Anyway, so we're going to do this. We're going to run one of our interviews that we have not run, although I don't have the list of them in
I think
front
we
of
got
me.
Pate and we have Doering loaded up.
Let's do Chris Doering.
Yeah.
All right. Because
Let's do that.
Josh Pate, like that was a long one. I don't know if we have time for that. Let's listen to Chris Doering, who was with us for like 7 or 8 minutes, I believe, breaking down the SEC as we kind of do some musical chairs with our guest here from SEC Media Days. Chris Doering here from Dallas a couple days back.
All right, we're here with Chris Doering, Florida legend, obviously SEC Network. We're going to talk football. But there's two people that I'm jealous of when I come to SEC Media Days. It's Josh Pate and yourself, because I like to be the fittest guy in the room. And when you guys are around, I feel like I'm 450 pounds.
I appreciate you saying that, but it always makes me feel guilty here because we're so busy.
Yeah.
I didn't make it to the gym yesterday. I don't know. Did you hit the hotel gym?
I did.
How is it?
It's okay.
It's all right?
I'm going to go to LA Fitness later.
Are you?
Yeah.
I might have to tag along. But I did 7 hours of broadcasting yesterday,
Yep.
and then I had to do the fun stuff with Billy Lucci and the boys. So I got to get it in today. I'm going to the Bahamas the following weekend, so I can't be looking. I'm going with Peter Burns, so I can't have PB trying to outdo me out there.
But how do you stay so young? I mean, we're same age roughly. You're 51. I'm late 40s. I'm going to be 48.
Mm-hmm.
You don't age, man.
Man, I appreciate you saying that. The mirror tells me a different story,
Yeah.
but honestly, I think staying active and being fit is one of the things I think that keeps the aging process away. But I've naturally always kind of eaten clean too.
Yeah.
I guess it's a gift because I never really crave the sweets and the stuff that's bad for you. So I think that's kind of benefited me as well.
Hey, so football-wise, I look at A&M's schedule, and I think it could be a good year because you get a lot of teams at home. But that first month of the season, you open up with Notre Dame, and then you go to Florida. Yeah. A&M hasn't won on the road since Nixon was president. It's been so long. How do you think they navigate through that first part?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this A&M team this season. You know, Coach Elko, having been there before, understands the culture.
Yeah.
What he's been able to do with that defense the first time he was there, what he did at Duke, it just brings like a physical kind of mentality that I think is going to fit this A&M team, particularly when you go on the road, man. You play away from Kyle Field. You gotta play physical, and I think he'll bring that. So excited about Connor Wegman coming back, and you know, it feels like a brand new start almost. You know, he was gone so long last year. It seems like forever since we've seen him play. And you know, I've heard a lot of talk about him being a first-round quarterback in the draft next spring. So I'm excited about what he can do in this offense too.
We had GMAC on the show, and I asked him, I'll ask you the same thing. Like, remember how you felt about him after that Miami game, and like how high things were.
Yeah.
And then it's been so long that I think people kind of forget what kind of quarterback he can be.
Yeah, no, he can make some really big time plays. I think, you know, we ask him to play as a freshman, and I think a lot of times we remember kind of some of the mistakes and the growing pains that he went through, but all of that's going to benefit him. I think having torn my Achilles when I was in the NFL, when you have a season-ending injury and you're away from it and you're watching all your teammates do it, it really gives you a better appreciation for getting to do what we do, but it also, I think it creates a higher level of sense of urgency and realizing that, you know, there's a finite amount of time that you're going to be able to play. And I think he's going to benefit from the struggles that he's gone through. He's going to benefit.
All right, that was Chris Doering here at SEC Network. John Nabors back. We did the musical chairs thing because Randall Cobb could only come for a few minutes and he was a little flexible. So sorry, and thank you for coming back. So let's talk Arkansas. We started down that path.
Right.
But so you think it's going to be better than last year?
I do. I do.
Give me the why.
Well, first off, there was a lot of reasons why Arkansas was not good last year, but one of the biggest reasons is because the offensive line was terrible, which is so weird seeing Sam Pittman have a terrible offensive line as head coach. It's like seeing Nick Saban have a bad defensive secondary. It's like, dude, this is supposed to be your thing.
That's your thing.
Yeah, it's your thing. And
Jimbo having a quarterback that struggles. That was your thing in the 1800s.
That's right. Yeah. So it's like that has been improved dramatically. I think that they made a change in the coaching situation.
Yep.
Cody Kennedy's now at Mississippi State. I like Cody Kennedy, but he was never supposed to be the offensive line coach that quickly. It was supposed to be a process that Brad Davis then went to LSU and everything. But either way, I think Eric Mateus, the hire that they made from Baylor as the offensive line coach, he worked for Sam Pittman when Sam Pittman was under Bielema at Arkansas back in 2015. They've improved that dramatically. They got big roster moves, and they got some guys added in. So it starts there. And as long as you have a much improved offensive line, I think you got the skill position and the guys to go around it to make the offense go.
I believe we spoke maybe 6 weeks ago, a month ago, and I said to you, I look at the schedule and I could see Sam Pittman fired by the bye week, maybe even by the end of September. I like Sam, so I hope that's not the case.
Of course.
But I do want them to get blown out by A&M.
Of course.
That being said, at Oklahoma State, no cakewalk.
Right.
UAB, not a cakewalk.
Not as easy as it once was.
Texas A&M, the Aggies have dominated.
Yeah,
that
we
series.
always know how that one goes.
Tennessee, bye week. And then LSU right after that. Like, does he survive that stretch?
Yeah, and also don't forget about Auburn on the road, too, in the midst of that. I mean, it's just like...
Oh, I missed Auburn. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... What it is like, to me, it's Oklahoma State's key game. If you're 3-0 going into that Auburn game, I don't expect Arkansas to beat Auburn, but if you're just 3-0 going into that, it gives confidence in the beginning part. It kind of wakes the fans up a little bit, especially getting that win where it's like, okay, so maybe this will be better. But if you lose that and you're 1-2 going into Auburn, and because I don't expect Arkansas to beat Auburn or A&M or Tennessee, I'm not picking them to win.
Yep.
There's a realistic chance you could be 2-4 in that bye week. And if that happens, I think it changes, babe. I really do.
But can you make a change with LSU coming? Like, that's just...
I mean, I think so.
Okay.
Just because that if you're going to make the change, you want to have the bye week to do it. And it being at home, that would add also a lot of excitement to where, say, if Petrino, which I think we all agree would be the interim head coach, we all Razorback fans, they love their Bobby Petrino.
Yep.
Just the story behind it and having LSU come to down for a night game would get everybody juiced up, where if Sam Pittman was still the head coach, then you wouldn't have the attendance. You wouldn't care because everyone's gone. But at least you would add some excitement to it and some belief that, hey, maybe Bobby can come in and pull off the inevitable and upset LSU.
The best year Sam had, they went 9-4. Would you say the reason was not only exceptional quarterback play, but you have to have that, was that offensive line was elite and you had a bunch of dudes that had been there for a while?
I think that was offensively, especially where it all started. I mean, you had Traylon Burks too. I mean, there's very few players that come out of Arkansas where I've always talked about generational talent. I think about a Matt Jones, a Darren McFadden, a Joe Adams, and also a Traylon Burks. I mean, the guy was incredible, and he made the offense go so well. But, yeah, I think that when you see Sam Pittman in the years he had a great offensive line, because even the 2015 season when he was the offensive line coach at Arkansas, people forget Brandon Allen was the quarterback that year. He threw for over 3,000 yards.
Yep.
Alex Collins, rest in peace, rushed for 1,400 yards that year. It was one of statistically the best Arkansas offenses he ever had. Sam Pittman was the O-line coach, but you had 4 guys on the offensive line that went in the NFL.
Yep.
So whenever Sam Pittman has a great offensive line, the offense is incredible. Is that what's going to be this year? We'll wait and see, but it has to start there, because if you don't have an improved offensive line, it doesn't matter if you got Taylor Green, doesn't matter if you have Bobby Petrino, it doesn't matter. Like, you just can't, you got to score to win, and you can't score if you can't protect anybody.
So I have not seen Taylor Green on film. I don't know. I've been told he's got some KJ qualities to him. What can you tell me about him?
He is, just been talking to him personally. I've had the pleasure of talking to him a few times. He is exactly how you want your quarterback to be. He is likable. The team loves him. His teammates love him. He's a leader. He's got a big smile, and we'll get to see him a little bit today. And he's almost like a calming presence.
Yep.
And when he came in, I saw his attributes, and he's 6'5", 6'6". He's tall. He has legs where he can really move, and he's got a cannon for an arm. But it doesn't matter if he can't do anything within the system. But all those things together, I'm not saying he's Lamar Jackson. I am not. But knowing Petrino coached Lamar Jackson, that's the quarterback that Petrino handpicked, because Sam Pittman told him, go get whoever you want. Go get your quarterback. That's who Bobby Petrino wanted. So you see something in him that he really likes. I can't wait to see him, especially when you get his legs under him and kind of do the dual threat thing. But I really, really like him just as a personality. But also, the second he stepped at spring practice, he was QB1, and they haven't looked back.
So with Bobby Petrino, and we know the offense will be better with him there, right? We know that. What is the ceiling? What's the floor for this team? Like, can they be a 7-8 win team? Are they closer to a 5-win team?
I honestly think they can be a 7-win team.
Keep Sam's job at 7 wins?
Yes. To me, that's the minimum he has to do to keep his job, the 7 wins. I think they get to that. I think they can get to that. But it goes down to, of course, the tough schedule in the first part, as you mentioned, what they do through that. But that's about it. I think the floor, though, you go 4-8, 5-7. I mean, you're still going to get some wins, and I really hope that's not the case, because, again, Arkansas's had some struggles here lately in all sports. But I think that if Arkansas gets to 7-5, no one's going to be like, oh, hang the banner, it's a great year. But you at least got things back on track after going 9-4, 7-6, 4-8, and 3 straight years. You bounce back, you get things back on track, and at least you have some positive momentum and trajectory for you.
Jaquindon Jackson.
I love that guy.
The numbers seem great. Like, you lose a guy like Rocket Sanders, but he was injured a little bit the last little bit. How are they similar? How are they different?
At the times I've got to watch him, there's just, you see a guy, especially at the running back position, where you're just like, that's a dude I don't want to see coming running at me.
Yep.
And that's what he is. He's about 6'2", 6'3", 235 pounds, but he's got the speed and he's got power. He runs without fear. And that's what I love seeing him, is that just in spring practices that we got to see, he lit some dudes up where they were expecting maybe go out of bounds or whatever. He loves contact, which may be something that, can hurt him if, like, literally and injure him. Maybe they have to work on that. But, like, he is just a reckless abandon type of running back that I'm excited to see, because you mentioned losing Rocket Sanders. They still got some good pieces there at running back, but my prediction is, or I guess my bold prediction is, I think he rushes for 1,000 yards this season. I think he'll be that good.
November 16th, Texas comes to town. At that point, you might be a different coach. You might be playing with a different type of passion. The last time Texas went there, Arkansas spanked them.
It was fun.
What do you think this year, based on where you all are and where Texas is?
Yeah, if this was earlier in the season, kind of like with the last time, because I think Arkansas played him week 2
or 3.
Yeah, so it was really early. That changed everything, because you felt like, all right, well, at least it's not going to be the season's a complete loss. But at that time, I don't know. And I don't know. I'm sure you guys have talked about it, but I know Texas is going to be good. But I also think that Texas is coming in a little bit too cocky into the SEC.
Yep.
I think that they're going to get I think they're going to get humbled a little bit. I think they're going to lose 2 games before they face Arkansas. So even though people talk about Arkansas, maybe they're down, maybe they have to get a different coach change or whatever, I think Texas is going to get some humble pie. And by that point in time, who knows, maybe they're all ticked off over there in Austin, because they're like, hey, we were supposed to be a playoff team. We're not supposed to be losing to these SEC teams. And they may be kind of like upset, bummed, not mailing in the season, but just may not have the confidence and the swagger that they once did. And maybe Arkansas could take advantage of it, because you mentioned the bye week before LSU. Arkansas gets a bye week before Texas too.
That's right.
So that could get them a little bit extra time and hype to get into that game.
Mr. Nabors, thanks for your time, brother.
As always, man. Appreciate you guys.
Yep. We'll hit a break here. We'll talk a little Auburn with Jacob Goins next here on TexAgs Radio. Let's talk a little Hush and Whisper time. It is Hush and Whispers having their 1 year in barrel celebration today. Today, holy smokes, it's today, July 18th from 2 to 11. Free tastings from their rye and wheated bourbon, 1 year aged barrels. Compare the difference to their white whiskey. All right. Enjoy a 1 day only cocktail made with rye and aged spirits. Meet the distiller from 2 to 5 o'clock. Introduction to their barrel sales program. Info on upcoming special events. More details on the award attached in a newsletter, a 1 year barrel. You know all about Hush and Whisper. Innovative distillery cocktail lounge founded to defy and distill true grain to glass spirits. They're located there in the Verisco building, downtown Bryan. They source only the finest local ingredients. They're a place where you can enjoy a cocktail crafted with premium local spirits. You can reserve a tour and a tasting or just a tasting. You can book an event, meeting, or celebration. Come in for a cocktail or a mocktail, buy a bottle, and experience at home. Gin, vodka, white whiskey bottles for sale. Remember, today from 2 to 5, meet the distiller, and from 2 to 11, it's a celebration. 1 year in the barrel, free tastings from the rye, wheated, bourbon, 1 year aged barrels. It is Hush and Whisper, hushandwhisper.com, 219 North Main Street there in downtown Bryan. Welcome back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. SEC Media Days Day 4. Mike Elko will be hitting the podium in about 30 minutes or so. So we'll chit chat about that real quick. I got a text from Brian Corton, A&M men's golf coach, and he just sent me a highlight on the Golf Channel. 19-year-old Jamie Montojo holes out for an eagle on his first hole of the Open. A&M golfer. So awesome stuff going on there. All right, let's continue our dialogue as we break down teams here on TexAgs Radio. Jacob Goins, good friend of ours from the show here from 106.7 FM, joins us to talk a little Auburn football. What's going on, man?
It's been good, man. It's been a great week. Today's the day for you and I, right? Yep. Auburn and Texas A&M both going today. Hugh Freeze talks on the main podium at 105.
105, not too late.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, we were kind of chatting before we came on. You know, it's always tough when our teams go on the final day. You feel like you're just sitting around, you're waiting, and then the final day's here, and it's just a mad dash to the finish line. But so far, been a great week here in Dallas.
Yeah. So I said this earlier in the show. Tell me if you agree with this assessment. I like that A&M played Auburn early last year, even though our quarterback got hurt and that sucked.
Yeah,
but they hadn't found their way. By the time they played Georgia and other big games at the end of the year, in Alabama, which they almost and should have won, I thought, okay, they've kind of figured it out. This year, A&M's getting them a little later in the schedule. At new coordinators, but it's still Hugh Freeze. What kind of Auburn team are we going to get?
Well, you know, last year was so different with that game being a little bit earlier. And this year, for Auburn's perspective, I actually like it where it is in this season, just because of how Auburn's schedule stacks up. 5 straight home games to start this season, which nobody is a fan of. Then Auburn does not play a home game, David, in the month of October.
I see that.
3 road games and a bye week in there. And I just don't understand how that schedule stacks up, but it is what it is. Auburn comes home. They'll have Vanderbilt. They'll have Texas A&M. One more cupcake in there, and then you'll go on the road for the Iron Bowl. So I like where the Texas A&M game falls this year because I'm hoping, right, that Auburn goes 5-0. They survive the month of October and then could build some momentum down the stretch before the Iron Bowl. And so for Auburn this year, it is year 2 under Hugh Freeze. It's year 2 for Peyton Thorne at the quarterback spot. And Hugh Freeze didn't go get anybody out of the transfer portal and is quoted by saying, look, we weren't going to go pay $1 million for a quarterback. And he trusts Peyton Thorne, and he trusts him so much that he's going to be here today at SEC Media Days. So if the offense can go out and win games, I've been saying all week, I think the defense is going to be good enough to keep this team in games. If the offense can take that next step with all the new receivers on the outside, some big time returnees like Rivaldo Fairweather, and even a guy like Camden Brown in the receiver spot, and Jarquez Hunter as the running back, if the offense can get going, then Auburn's going to be a really good team this year.
So one of the question marks A&M has is their receiver core. One of the strengths Auburn has is their receiver core. And I'm looking, our intern team put together this packet.
That's nice.
And the key additions are 2 guys that A&M was deep in, right? They thought they had him, KLS, Keandre Lambert-Smith, and also Cam Coleman, who we all were so close to having. All the reports are they dominated in the spring. Talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, with Cam Coleman, we'll start there. That's the one that Auburn fans are just jumping up and down, are just dying to see on the field in real action. Got to see him in the spring game, and he dominated, had some crazy catches. I mean, he's just a freak of nature, right? He's a different beast. And we actually had some private access with Hugh Freeze last night at an ambush event here in Dallas, and Hugh Freeze talked about how Cam Coleman is one of the best players on Auburn's football team. Not just one of the best freshmen, not just one of the best receivers, one of the best players on the team. And he is going to start day 1. Some of those other freshman guys, Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane, those guys will take a little bit longer to adjust, but Cam Coleman's going to start day 1. And so I expect him to be one of the go-to guys, along with KLS, a guy that transferred in, somebody coming from Penn State, a guy that is really talented and was pretty much the go-to guy up at State College. Now, Penn State fans tried to talk down about it and say it wasn't that good. I don't believe that. I think he's going to be a trustworthy guy for Peyton Thorne early on. Will he be the number 1 guy at the end of the year? I don't think so. I think Cam Coleman will probably be that, but it's a good adjustment period. You have an experienced guy early. Cam Coleman can get his legs underneath him, really start to figure himself out, and I think he'll be the number 1 option come the Iron Bowl.
So what's the floor and the ceiling for this team? I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me they're an 8-4, 9-3 level team, and then you look at the schedule like, really? So like, where are they?
Well, it's funny because so many people around here this week have been saying, look, if Auburn wins 7 games, they should be happy. I disagree with that. I think Auburn should expect 8 wins this season. The schedule that you mentioned, right? Again, 5 straight home games. Now, the 5th one is Oklahoma, which is going to be tough, but that's going to be fun. And I think, too, with that, if you get 1 game on the road and then you come back home and you do what you need to do, I think Auburn can win. I think Auburn can win 8 games. I think that should be the expectation. And then if things go right, yeah, you could win 9 games this year. And with the talent that Auburn has, plus again the schedule, I think Auburn has a really good shot.
At Georgia, not feeling good for you guys.
No. I mean, we got to be honest about that one.
At Missouri, I don't know what to think about Missouri because their offense is going to be legit, but I don't know. Can they do it 2 years in a row?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have some type of a drop-off. That's going to be an early kickoff, and I always say that benefits the road teams in the SEC.
At Kentucky, I think that's going to be a tough one.
It is, but I think if Auburn wants to have a successful season, get to that 9-win mark, that's a game you have to win.
A&M.
At home, I like it.
Yep, and then at Alabama.
Who knows at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because what is Alabama going to be? They've got a ton of talent. We know that. And Kalen DeBoer is a fantastic head coach. But what are they going to be by that point? They've got a pretty tough schedule, too. That game's a coin toss. I mean, you give it a little bit of the edge to Alabama being in Tuscaloosa, but it really depends for Auburn what they're doing up to that point. Like I said, if they get that 5-0 start or even a 4-1, but they survive October, they beat Vanderbilt, they beat Texas A&M, right? They have a couple of games under their belt in a win streak heading into the Iron Bowl, then anything's possible in Tuscaloosa.
My audience will not allow that you feel good about it without me questioning you on it, right?
That's right.
They'll hold you to the fire.
I'd like you too. I'd like you too.
Why? And before you give me why, A&M's going to have a great defense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They should have a better offense. And last year, Connor Wigman went down early in that game, right? So why? And I'm not saying that it's a guarantee or anything, but I'm just like, what you said it so quickly and so confident, like A&M. Like, I'm just curious.
Look, I like Connor Wegman a lot. I have him higher in my quarterback rankings than most people do, because the potential that he has is really, really high. If he stays healthy, right? That's got to be, that's the biggest stress. I'm sure you guys have talked a ton about that throughout this offseason. If Wegman stays healthy, then yeah, A&M's going to be a really good team, and their defense is always going to be solid. I just feel with Auburn, where it lies in the schedule and being at home. Now, if this game was being played at Kyle Field, I'd be much more worried, much more stressed about it. It would not be and I'm not even saying it's a guaranteed win right now, but I'm saying
you feel good about it today where it lays.
Yeah, especially in the schedule at home in Jordan-Hare. That's a game that, again, it's one of those that if Auburn wants to have the season that they can have an 8, 9, possibly double digit if everything goes right. We're not going to go that far just yet, but that's another game that Hugh Freeze has to expect to win, and I think Auburn fans will expect to win it going into that.
I think it's human nature to do this, but do you think yourself and analysts around the country are using Jimbo goggles with Elko's Aggies?
I think that's a fair statement. Yeah, I do, because we don't know, right? We don't know what we're going to see. And look, I like Elko. I'm intrigued by what he's going to say in the main room and around here today at SEC Media Days. But I think that's a fair statement. I really do, because until we see it, until we know what we're going to get with Mike Elko at Texas A&M, it's hard to assess what the team's going to be. And so my answer may be I'm confident that Auburn wins this game right now in July, but shoot, we're not even into football season yet. And so once we see that, my answer could change.
So when it comes to Auburn, let's say they go 7-5, how will the fan base react to that?
I don't know. I think it'd be mixed. I really do. I personally would be disappointed in it. I think some fans would be okay, and I think some fans would expect a little bit better. It depends on how it looks, though, right? It depends on, do you get a win against Alabama in that 7-5, or do you go and beat Missouri on the road? Do you let somebody like Arkansas come in and beat you at Jordan-Hare? Like, it's got to look the right way for me, and I think a lot of fans would feel that same way too. I just don't think 7-5 is acceptable with the schedule that Auburn has, plus the talent that they've got on the roster.
All right, and what do you think about the rest of the SEC? How does it play out? Who are your top 3 or 4 teams?
Yeah, I mean,
what everybody else is saying?
I think so. Georgia, Texas, I think are going to be up there. Don't sleep on Alabama. Again, people are are, and myself included, they are looking over Alabama because Nick Saban's no longer there. I think LSU is a dark horse in this SEC race. I like Garrett Nussmeier a lot. I like Brian Kelly even more. I think he's a great coach. So I look at those teams and look, Auburn and Texas A&M are just in that. They're in that circle of what could they be? They're being overlooked. Nobody's talking about us this week here at SEC Media Days because Texas and Georgia and Alabama and Ole Miss, right? Those are the teams getting all the love, but we're the ones that could really make some noise this season in the SEC. And so I hope you guys do, and I hope we do it as well, because that game in November is going to be a lot of fun.
So I know what Hugh Freeze feels because you shared it with me, and I've heard him, right? But what does Jacob think about Peyton Thorne? Because I didn't watch the end of the season. I saw what he did at Cobb Field.
Yeah.
At Cobb Field, I think it was the worst quarterback performance I have seen in the last 5-10 years. Okay?
Yeah.
It was a rough one.
Yeah, it was.
And maybe that's recency bias, but I just remember thinking, man, this guy is struggling. Why is there optimism with him from your perspective, not from Hugh Freeze's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be really honest with you. I'm still the verdict's still out for me. I'll be honest. I don't have as much confidence as Hugh Freeze does, but that's why he makes a lot more money than I do. I wanted to see somebody coming through the portal. I wanted to see at least a competition. Even if you brought somebody in that wasn't going to beat out Peyton Thorne, why not go get somebody that's at least going to push him just a little bit more, right? The actual quarterback battle, because the guys in the room behind him, they're all young. They're not ready right now. Obviously, that's why they're not going to be the starter. And so my confidence level in Peyton Thorne isn't overly high right now, but the fact that Hugh Freeze has that confidence level with everything around him, Peyton Thorne has no excuse anymore, right? He's got the confidence of his head coach. He's got an offensive line that I think will be top 5 in the SEC, and he's got all the receivers in the world and a returning Jarquez Hunter at running back that's one of the best in the conference. So at this point, what is the excuse, right? If it doesn't happen this year, it's not going to happen with Peyton Thorne. So my confidence level, I mean, to put a number on it, 1 through 10, maybe a 5, a 6 at the highest, but that can grow if he starts to get comfortable this season.
Jacob, I appreciate it, buddy.
Awesome, man. It's great to have you guys and great to be on once again and looking forward to the game in November, Auburn and Texas A&M.
We'll see you soon, sir.
Thanks so
All
much.
right, thank you. That is Around College Football, brought to you by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community featuring homes, trails, farms, and wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Take part in the Milliken Reserve community with a Conservancy membership. Learn more at millikenreserve.com. All right, right now, caller number 1. We're going to hook you guys up. It's your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff and a personal touch is back. That is Aggie Land Express Car Wash, Aggie Land's first green car wash where they recycle 100% of their water. You got the original location on William D. Fitch behind Shipley's in South College Station, and the new location, 2528 Texas Avenue South in College Station, across from the Planet Fitness. Both of those locations have all the services you want, but the brand new full service wash is the newest in town, and they have all the options you can imagine. Aggieland Express team will take care of cleaning and doing it all under a completely covered area so that your car stays cool while they make it sparkle and shine. And for a limited time, they're inviting you to try their full service option at a half price, normally $40, but you can get it for $20 off if you tell them that I sent you by. So the first caller to call, 979-693-1150, we're going to give you a free car wash, a $40 value from Aggieland Express Car Wash in College Station. But the one for your free one is the one on Texas Avenue. Give them a call right now. It is Aggieland Express Car Wash. All right, apologies to Brian Broadcasting. Another caller-driven segment here. It's time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150 will hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. Michael Gittens here, War Report, is with us. Talk a little Auburn. So we just had one perspective. Tell me, Peyton Thorne, why A&M should be scared of him after they dominated him.
Oh, man, listen, Peyton Thorne is going to be a new guy, I think, in 2024. The system was not good for anybody last year, evidenced by the fact that they fired Philip Montgomery after the season. I think that Hugh Freeze is going to be a little bit more hands-on this year with his quarterback and with the system. And, you know, some of the messaging last year, it was precarious around the system. You'd hear Hugh Freeze one week say, oh, well, when it goes well, I was a little bit more involved. But when it wasn't, you know, I kind of turned it over to those guys. Well, in year two, he can't afford that. He's got to move this thing forward. They put their weight behind Peyton Thorne in this offseason. A lot of fans were upset that they didn't go to the portal to get a quarterback, right? So if that's your guy, and they brought him to media days, obviously, so that's his guy. He's got to be closer to 2021 Peyton Thorne than he was to 2023 Peyton Thorne. So 1,700 yards passing was the worst in the conference last year. And to move that closer to where you need to be successful, the bars between 2,500 and 3,000 yards, you've got to increase volume. They took the air out of the football last year because they didn't trust the pass catchers. Now you got Cam Coleman. Now you've got Keandre Lambert-Smith from Penn State. And you've got guys that you believe in it. I think they're going to give him 100+ more pass attempts this year to get him closer to 400, which is where he lives at 60% completion percentage. That's 2021 Peyton Thorne. So I think we see a better Peyton Thorne. I would argue that we didn't really see a worse Peyton Thorne. We just saw a really, really bad system last year.
We got about 45 seconds left. A&M Auburn, are they in the same conversation? Are they the same type of team when it comes to what their record could look like, or are they two different spectrums?
I think the talent gap right now between A&M and Auburn is advantage A&M. Right. But you just never know. A couple of years ago, they played probably one of the best games we've ever seen between teams with losing records, but it was like a Super Bowl there down in Auburn, and Auburn ended up coming out on top. Football means a lot at both schools. Right now, I think A&M is better positioned from a talent standpoint, but Hugh Freeze is working hard from the high school recruiting perspective to try to catch them up.
Thank you so much. We got to hit a break because Elko's about to go. We'll see you guys in a bit. See you next time.